Okay. Welcome. Thank you to everyone joining us live. This is the Which Mythical Creature Are You workshop. And we are sharing this on Sunday, January 30th, 2022. And I think there's somebody else who's not muted. So just check and see if you're muted. And then we'll be inviting you, that Lisa, yeah. Hi, Yamalet. You're invited to put questions and responses in the chat at any time. And then we'll open it up for questions periodically as well, if you prefer to speak. And we'd love it if you come on camera, but we understand some people are shy, so that's okay if you don't want to do that. Okay, so this webinar, the purpose of this webinar is to explore human design aura types through the lens of mythical beings, mythical creatures. And the origins of this website began many, many, many years ago when Kayvon and I would just in our own private conversations be discussing this, this idea of how to kind of personify the aura types and things that we can relate to from our, shared mythologies. There is another thing I want to say right up front. This is not about dogma. Okay, this is just fun ideas. We're sharing what Kayvon and I have explored over the years that's kind of helped us elucidate and tease out the differences between the aura types. But nothing that we're sharing today is from like a human design Bible. It wasn't approved and stamped by Ra-Uru-Hu or the Institute for International Human Design Institute, whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. This is just us sharing stuff that was fun for us to explore and develop because it helped us to understand just more details and nuances about how these aura types operate. Finally, everyone is everything. Everything you see in a human design chart, you have access to all of it. What our chart shows is what is consistent in us as individuals, right? So don't be sad if you always wanted to be a unicorn and you find out that's not your aura type, because you still have access to unicorn energy, but there's something else that's consistently accessible and manifesting for you in this incarnation. And another thing that I invite you to explore is that if you feel like you relate to more than one of these, there can be a couple things going on. Number one, your dream rave is likely a different aura type than your waking life chart. So the dream rave describes who we are when we leave our body at night and go into the dream realm. And in the vast majority of people, it's a different aura type. And for everyone, it's a completely different body graph with different centers, different gates and themes. So that's one thing to consider if something feels like it doesn't line up all the way. And then second, there's this exploration of the sidereal human design, which is describing another dimension of your being. And it could be that in that dimension, you're another aura type. For many people, you are. So just keep in mind that this can be why you feel like you relate to more than one. So again, we want to go in this loose, free, and fun. This is not about dogma. It's just about deepening our appreciation for the aura type of ourselves and others. And now, and by the way, I'm Michelle Gaza. If you've never been here before, this is my partner, Kayvon Fair, and I'm going to hand it over to Kayvon for his famous introduction.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That was so excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So, first of all, hello, everybody. Hello. Hello. I can hear you even though you're on mute, so don't worry about it. The intuition has been on point since 2022. I just want to thank you some more for just showing up and for just doing the work, regardless if it's human design, IFS, Reiki, Qigong, whatever it is that you've been doing. Congratulations. You are a part of the reason why humanity is totally winning, regardless of what we may think we're seeing on the television, which is the Black Mirror, right? So regardless of what we're seeing on the Black Mirror, you guys can stop what you're doing right now, look outside what you're doing. Like, you can look outside right now and I guarantee you it's peace. I guarantee you, you are safe. I guarantee you there's something loving in your reality immediately around you. So I just wanted to ground us in the truth, right? Immediately, and understanding that we have made it. The fact that we are alive, the fact that we are healthy, I want to let you know that you have made it. Regardless of what type you are, you have been doing the work, and I am so thankful for you because I can feel it. Like, I'm sensitive enough to go outside and feel the difference from 1992 all the way up to 2022. It's a total difference.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of us are actually doing the work. We are meeting up in groups, we are going to classes, and we are doing our best to like tap into our magic. So just know all of the magic that you're doing, you're spreading this seed, right? It's like monkey see, monkey do. Whatever we do, we really do affect the collective. We send out that magic into the world. So before I go any further, I just want to tell everyone that's listening, that will watch in the future, that I love you. Everyone that's here now, I love you. I appreciate you. I forgive you. I allow you and I honor you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up.
Thank you, Kayvon.
Whew.
Okay, so we've decided to do a fun flip. I imagine that the majority of you saw our video that's now several years old. It's like probably 6 or 7 years old now, isn't it? 5 years, 6 years old, of the intro to aura type video, where we spoke more about the traditional perspectives of human design aura types. And in that video, we made reflectors wait until somebody's done. Yeah. Let us just mute.
Yeah, it doesn't have a mute thing.
Oh.
For some reason.
Lisa, your iPhone is not muted. If you can mute yourself somehow, it's not allowing us to do that. So give us a moment, everybody. Okay. Lisa, hello, Lisa. She already checked out of her phone. It's still on there, but it's children, little children. So it might be a different Lisa.
Sure. Well,
here, let's stop the recording. Yeah.
All right, let's just pause. We're gonna pause real quick.
It's Margarita that's showing up when the sound happens.
Oh.
I don't think it's Lisa. I think it's Margarita.
Okay. Margarita, if you're here.
I don't see Margarita.
I don't see her
here.
either.
No, Margarita's muted.
She's muted. This is okay. Thank you for your patience. This is part of what happens when we do things live and there's just public invitation. It can get a little hectic. So point was, in our last video about aura types, we made reflectors wait until the end. So this time we're going to start with the reflectors.
Yes. Yes. And just a little, recap of the human design and just understanding why it's important for us to really go over this information and to just go over your own human design. Simply is because one, in 2027, this is the prophecy. In 2027, we're literally moving from the solar plexus as a humanity into the heart space. When we move into the heart space as a collective humanity, it literally changes the density. So we've been existing in this third density for a long time. And the third density is is competitive based. It's dog eat dog. It's really working hard in order to reach your goal. So the lighter the density, the lighter the living. So the more mental, but also the more mental things can become. So this is why learning these, just techniques or manifestation techniques or anything like that, a lot of that stuff is going to start to work even more now, like the magic, the rituals, all of these things are going to start working even more because we're moving into a lighter frame of existence. So everything is speeding up faster and faster. And this is how we know that something is happening. So it's going to get so fast to where time is going to be speeding up so much to where time is going to seemingly stop for some of us. And when you get into the point to where you have time stopping, then that's when you start tapping into these higher densities of beingness, and you get into that instantaneous manifestation. So getting a grip on who you are, right? This is a part of us finding our lane. I like to look at humanity as like a picture, and each and every one of us represent a unique color within this picture, right? That makes up this beautiful mural of existence. So this is bringing us closer to finding our unique colors, our unique frequencies, so that we can be these unique divine expressions of source, God, of whatever you want to call this higher self or higher source energy. But understanding that our foundations, like Michelle said, that we're everything and more, and that we chose to play these avatars so that we can learn specific lessons that will grow our souls. So this is why we move into love and light. This is why we start to move into these more pure positive beings, and why we want to flood our timelines with nothing but positive and uplifting people. Because the energy of negativity represents this negative bar, right? This other negative bar represents the other side, which is the duality that we've been living in the lower 3 densities. We've been living in a split kind of negative reality. When you polarize to positive all the way, you get negative results. When you polarize negative all the way, you get negative results. This is the thing that's been driving all of us crazy. We can't understand, because when we go positive, we get negative. When we go negative, we get negative. In order for us to experience a pure positive reality, we have to bring both left brain, right brain together, and together they create the positive symbol that we see, the plus. So the positive symbol literally is made up of 2 negatives. So as we move into 2027, this is happening. And we're becoming these positive expressional beings, and positive meaning radiating. As luminous beings, you radiate. Positive frequency, positive energy radiates. So we're moving into our radiant selves. This knowledge brings us into our radiant selves, because together, through our individuality, we're going to come together to create that positive picture. So
Raven says, love that, helpful for me as a lunar wizard. Yes.
yes.
Yeah, and sort of along those same lines, the beauty of human design is that it helps us understand in exquisite detail that unity doesn't mean everyone's the same, and it also doesn't mean everyone's compatible. So part of understanding the aura types is understanding people as they are in the incarnation, and not trying to impose what we wish they could be, or how we wish they would behave. You don't get angry at a jet plane for not behaving like a sailboat. You don't get angry at an 18-wheeler for not behaving like a Ferrari sports car, right? So putting that in human design talk, unity doesn't mean that suddenly a manifestor and a projector will be able to stay in the room all day long without pressing each other's buttons, right? There is a repelling aura from the manifestor and a penetrating aura from the projector that, if they are together for too long, are going to clash. Is it because they're bad people? Is it because they're not enlightened? Is it because they don't know about 5D? No, it's because these are their roles in this reality, and they're specifically designed to do certain things. In the same way, we wouldn't ask a jet plane to stay in the water and hang out with its sailboat friend all the time, nor would we expect the sailboat friend to be flying, right? So this is about respecting differences, uniqueness, individuation, and we cannot have the harmony of true unity unless we respect this. Otherwise, we're putting on masks, we're being fake, we are either disrespecting our design or asking others to disrespect theirs. This is the opposite of that. So this is about the ultimate respect of who you are inside this Maya illusion, and what role you're here to play for now. And after this lifetime, you will play a different role. So we're just talking about the here and now, but unless we learn how to anchor in the here and now, the most high dimensional insights and downloads that you can obtain are going to be useless because you can't anchor them in. Part of being multidimensional is being 3D. 3D is a dimension, as is 2D and 1D. So there's this arrogance I sometimes see in the New Age community. Oh, I'm above 3D. Well, then you're not really being multidimensional. So let's drop that arrogance and let's face the challenge of 3D using this cheat code that helps us to actually enjoy being here instead of trying to escape all the time, because it helps us understand why we feel the way we do, why we have certain clashes we do, why we really resonate with some people, and that none of that is our fault. Rather, it's our job to listen to our inner authority, or if you're one of the rare people who has to deal with that special outer authority, like the reflectors and the rare projectors, then you go through that process and honor that. So that's really what we're here for today.
Yes.
So you ready to bring on the image? Okay, so we're going to keep checking in the chat, but we're going to switch to the shared screen. And we're going to start with reflectors, which are, oh, why won't that do it? Hang on 1 second, guys.
No, it did do it, but it's, hang on. It's because I got it over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, once I bring it over here, then it'll have to share this screen. I think that's the screen, right? That's the screen. Okay, hold on.
There we go.
Can you guys see that?
Can everybody see the unicorn?
Amy, since
Nope.
nope. What the?
Okay, let's pause the recording again.
Look at them.
Okay.
Okay, now we're gonna go back to.
Okay. So many of you will not be surprised that we chose the unicorn for the reflectors. And there's a bunch of reasons why. So just to refresh, unicorns, I mean reflectors, are only 1% of the population in waking life. In the dream waves, they're, I think, about 60%. So keep that in mind. If you resonate with the unicorn energy, you could have a dream wave that is a reflector, okay? So.
Also, reflectors, if you don't know what a reflector is someone within the human design who literally has all of the channels white.
Well, all of the centers white.
All of the center.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, all of the centers white within their chart.
They can only have hanging gates and not full channels activated.
Yes, so I guess this will be a little bit, I guess, advanced for people who may not, some people may not, if you don't know anything about the human design.
You should go and watch our intro to aura types video first. This is for people on the recording. Yes. Everybody here live is pretty familiar, I'm pretty sure though. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna teach this as though you already have been exposed to the basics, and if you have not, then go ahead and watch Intro to Human Design Aura Types on our channel, and that will give you the basics. So yeah, so the reflectors are very rare beings, and typically the unicorn mythology, they're not seen as a common thing that everybody has access to. It's sort of this rare occurrence to meet a unicorn, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Go ahead.
So I'm just trying to figure out if we should just give them the reflector breakdown.
Sure.
Just a little quick breakdown for the reflector, and then pop into why they're the unicorn. Okay. Right. So the reflectors represent literally 1% of our population. So this is going to be one of the main reasons why we chose the reflectors as the models for the unicorn type, because unicorns are very rare creatures. You know, they're kind of hard to find, and reflectors, they're very rare. I'm not sure if we have one reflector on our.
Oh yeah, James is here.
James
with
is
Raven. Yeah, he's on the same.
And he's a reflector.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So good. I'm so happy that we got a reflector here, because normally it's not a lot, you know. So just honoring and understanding the fact that when you do pop into a reflector, right, or you pop up on a reflector, that you literally just walked up on a unicorn, right? And I want the reflectors to really just, you know, dive into even the myth, even after this call, you know, to tap into researching about unicorns and see how that makes you feel, right? But I feel like it's so funny to me that you always see the unicorns with the white coat. And reflectors, when you look at their chart, it's all white. You see, so it's so in alignment with what the reflectors are, just on the physical makeup level, without learning any of the attributes of what a reflector brings to the table or what a unicorn brings. Just to me, looking at the unicorn and how majestic it is, and me meeting reflectors in my lifetime and doing sessions with them, these are some of the most magical people that I've been around. Just the feeling of them. It's like, I don't understand how anyone can possibly be mad at a reflector if a reflector is in alignment with just who they are. So it's kind of like seeing this magical being come around that is kind of automatically showing you love, right? And the unicorns, they are very loving creatures, and they don't give off negative, you know, funky energy. It's kind of like a very clear energy. So this is the reason why we wanted to start off, you know, with the reflectors, one, and just to honor them, because they're always at the end of it. They're always at the end of our discussions, and, you know, people fade off and stuff like that. And they need to be recognized too, right? People need to understand how important it is, and especially these people are, because the reflectors are reflecting life itself. They are the ones who are sampling religions, sampling inventions, sampling new types of relationships, and then they report back to us with their experience. So the reflectors are highly, highly needed in our reality, and they're a gauge in how things are within any given situation. So I want the reflectors just to understand that, like, when you show up, you are now literally reflecting the temperature of the reality around you. You're going to be giving us information. If you're laughing all day long, then that means this is a joyous place. If you're sad, upset, feeling depressed, then that means the energy around is that energy. So we can really look at reflectors as sounding boards for the reality. So yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I love about human design is it really helps us to understand and bridge this gap between our individual experiences. And human design really validates that we're each having a very unique experience of being human. So for the 99% of us who aren't reflectors in this realm, just for a moment, think about or feel into your undefined centers. And there may be some people listening who have all 9 centers defined, so that might be tough for you to imagine. But feel into your undefined centers, and then imagine that every single one of your 9 centers on your chart are undefined, meaning every single one of those 9 centers are empathic. So everywhere you go, you have the capacity to take in the energy of others and double it. This is why, through the grace of source, reflectors are made with a Teflon aura. Otherwise, they would just be like steamrolled by just the ongoing onslaught of all this energy. So it's a very particular role that they play, and they really are here to reflect back to us the health of our communities. And sometimes people don't really want their truth reflected back at them because they're just not ready to take it, etc. And it can be a difficult role to play, because at the end of the day, the reflector, it doesn't have those barriers. There's a couple of barriers of structure in the sense that they have a few gates defined here and there, but they don't have the barriers that those of us with defined centers have. and they don't have the stability that those of us with defined centers have. So remember, definition in the chart is what's consistent and stable in you. Okay. And even though I understand that if you have a defined solar plexus, that's an unstable feeling, it's stable in the sense that you consistently have your motor turned on. So I invite everybody to just have compassion for our brothers and sisters who raise their hand to be a reflector and appreciate what a challenging role this is. So bringing it back to the unicorns, you know, there are some older depictions of unicorns that aren't necessarily horse-like and are different colors, but we're going to sort of focus on this modern stereotypical unicorn for the reasons that Kayvon mentioned, the white unicorn, like the white chart of the reflector. So some of the ideas for unicorns that were interesting in terms of comparing them to reflectors were that unicorns can only be captured by a maiden. Right. So in our intro to aura types video, we discussed the fact that the question of the reflector aura type is who is different, who is special. So in the same sense, the unicorn will only be captured by a maiden. What is a maiden? That's presumably meaning someone who's a pure soul, who's in gentleness, right? They are very sensitive people, just like unicorns are very sensitive. But that Teflon aura to me is symbolized by that horn. So there is a level of protection that they have. I also feel like the horn symbolizes that ability to pinpoint what is off, who is different, what is wrong, that ability to discern because of that sensitivity. They can really tap into very quickly, as Kayvon said, the temperature of the room.
Yes.
The Chinese lore about unicorns says that unicorns walk so softly, their hooves make no sound. Similarly, when a reflector enters the room, they don't have an energetic impact. They're just here to sample whoever else is in the room. Their horns have magical healing qualities. So I would say that if we're open to receiving their feedback, that discernment, that horn, that pointed discernment is very healing. If I'm, for example, you know, we had a reflector in our first iteration of the New Earth Self-Leadership Academy. And it's really helpful to have a reflector around to give you feedback, because if something is off, they're going to be able to see it probably first or feel it. And if you care about being in integrity and you care about being in alignment, that can be really helpful. Now, the challenge, if you are a reflector, is that, again, sometimes people aren't ready. They don't really want that reflected back. And they want the side of the reflector that's a cheerleader and a groupie who's just going to like everything. But then after that 28-day cycle, when the reflector realizes, I'm discerning some things here and I'm going to give you feedback about that, people may be offended, right? So you can run into a similar problem like a projector. So this is the challenge of the reflector once you're being honest with that reflecting feedback. I've got two more. And then
No, that's good. You are excellent.
Okay.
Explain away.
Okay, in Japanese unicorn lore, what's called the Shinyu unicorn can distinguish right from wrong, helping judge offenses. So again, that ability to sample, to judge, to see who is different, to reflect back what communities are healthy and which ones are not, is the unicorn.
And just to add on to the sensing part of what's right and wrong, because the reflectors are so open, you cannot lie to them energetically. So you can have the greatest liar ever on the planet and you put a reflector around them, and then eventually all of the secrets will start coming out and the truth will come out, because the reflector reflects the person entirely. From the inside out, it will literally has this ability to just really take on the entire essence without losing itself. That's the enlightenment of the reflectors, being able to understand that you're just a sampler and that there's someone sampling all of this stuff. So you can never be or claim any religion or any group or any race really as a reflector, simply because you're just sampling these races and these types of beings or these religions or these practices. So at the end of the day, the reflectors, the secondary animal for the reflector, just the animal, not the mythical creature, it is the owl. So, and the owl is, I like to call the owl the know-it-all, because at the end of the day, it can turn its head 360 degrees. So it can, well, almost 360 degrees, I believe. So it can pretty much know all things, right? It can view life in almost 360 different degrees. We are barely looking past 90 degrees, you know, barely past this little short degree of 180 degrees barely, you know. So the reflectors, they are very wise energies. And because of that point at the tip, like she says, it kind of protects them from being taken over by anyone's identity fully.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just important to understand that as a reflector, you do have your own set identity. It's just that it's a reflector. And understanding what the identity of a reflector really is super important.
Right. And as you're speaking about how the role of reflector is to sample, it makes it a little bit of a lone wolf path, which is typically how we see unicorns. Typically, they seem to be depicted as solos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do sometimes see like a herd of unicorns, but typically they're solo. And another interesting thing is that apparently across different cultures, and this is again different from this modern depiction of the unicorn, historically, they were actually known for bringing a great display of color, whether it came from reflections, their horn, or their fur/hair mane. And stunning colors were a trait over time in different mythologies, whether it was Greek, Chinese, Japanese, etc. So again, that idea of reflecting back. So we see the white chart of the reflector that reflects back the colored in spaces of everyone else around it. So this is the unicorn theme.
Yes, yes. And I just got what you said, James is with Raven.
Yeah, that's what I
at
meant.
their house. Okay.
Yeah, they're on the same thing. That's why he doesn't have a separate list.
I was like, what? Where's James? Where is he?
Oh, you've been looking for him.
Yeah, I'm looking like, where's James?
He's on there with Raven,
Okay.
so he is there.
Okay, he's there.
And then finally, unicorns are a symbol of prosperity and peace. So for me, the sense of peace, which is interesting because that's something that the manifestors are searching for. I would say the way that that sense of peace translates is when you are around a reflector, you can feel at peace because they typically do not create a lot of static because they're there to reflect you back. So a reflector is going to feel like your twin.
Yes.
Until that 28-day cycle ends and they're like, there's something I want to reflect back to you.
Yes.
But even then, it's still your twin. And if you're open and in compassion and understand their role and not deflecting and, protecting your illusions, then that's still actually a peaceful thing. Because again, if you see it as an asset, here is somebody who can reflect back the truth to you in a way that 99% of the population cannot. That does bring peace because it allows us to get to the bottom of things from someone who's able to reflect back our blind spots.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Reflectors are, it's just highly important for reflectors to understand that you do have your own identity and that it will feel as if you're sacrificing your identity for the other so that, you guys can have a decent or, a peaceful relationship, right? Mm-hmm. But after the 28 days of reflecting, of going through problems in your relationship, if there's problems, it's so important for you to address these problems. And when you're in relationship to a reflector, know that when they finally do address their difference or their grievances, that this is not something light. This is something that has been contemplated on for a long time, probably longer than the 28 days. Mm-hmm. So when it's finally time for them to express, just honoring that expression and supporting that expression and then changing so that their energy can actually withstand your energy. because once a reflector has a problem with you and you don't change, it is like torture. Because the problem is now amplified ×2 every single day, and it seems to be in it, and it will kind of get louder. But the reflector cannot trick themselves into believing that they agree with everything and that they, and if you're always constantly saying, you know what, yeah, I get that, I agree with that, then you may be reflecting a lot, and you may not agree with that after a certain amount of time. You may have a slightly different way to view it, and it's okay.
Yeah, and reflectors, forgive yourselves if you don't have clarity immediately. You are lunar beings who need the full lunar cycle to get to your clarity. And it's not because you have any deficit whatsoever. That's just your role to sample. It's almost like all reflectors are like third line beings. They have to go through the sampling to get to their truth. You're not like a splenic being or a gut being that can get to the truth in the now. So shall we open up for questions before we go on to the next type? Okay, so feel free to unmute yourself. Do we want to go back to, you want
to go back to the
yeah, hold on, I want to read this. Okay. I think this is Amy who says, my son is a reflector, and this is also spot on. My background is psychology and elementary education, and he was an anomaly to me until I learned this. It helped so much to understand him. I love him fiercely. This is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh yeah, and Raven is sharing that James, who's a reflector, is also a 3/5. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Amy. And I do, so it's interesting because we have reflectors come, obviously more rarely than the other types, to be coached. And they have this massive validation and awakening that is so important because they are so unique. And so many of them carry this painful burden of trying to fit in, trying to make it work the way that energy beings do and other types do, and it just doesn't work for them. So we really want to drive that home, like looking at the majestic image of this unicorn. This is not a weak being. This is not a stupid being. This is a sensitive being who's actually very courageous to come here, very unguarded. Yes, they have a Teflon aura, but they still have to feel all the stuff in these undefined centers. So we really want to cultivate this respect for reflectors to have for themselves, as well as the community in large to respect that role. And Lisa asks, could it actually be that reflectors are generally more honest people, that they can't lie? Not at first. At first, they fall into a groupie role where, oh my God, you're the new best thing. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting, because they're sampling you. And in the first part of the relationship, they're just in the sampling and they haven't gone through their process yet. But I would say perhaps at the end of the day, they have the potential. I mean, I don't know. I think the honesty everybody has the potential for, but let me say a different word, Lisa. They have the ability to discern in a way that's unique.
Yeah. And it's like, if they're operating truly as a reflector and they know that they're a reflector, it is hard for them to lie, because they'll unconsciously be reflecting you back to you, your truth. If you're sad, they'll be sad. If you're upset, they'll be upset, and they're not lying, right? So you can, but are they lying in the sense that they don't really feel upset? They're not really sad, and that's the truth. They're not really upset and they're not really sad. They're just reflecting you. A lot of us don't really know how the moon really looks because the moon is reflecting Earth. There's a lot of knowledge coming out that the image that we're seeing up there is like this reflection of actual Earth, but just like a holodeck reflection of Earth itself, like the moon that we're seeing. This is why it's like round like it and everything. And when you see moons from other places in outer space, they're not nearly as round and perfect like our moon is. Our moon looks like a mirror. It's like this mirror thing. So we don't even really know how it looks if it's really reflecting the Earth image back at us. And this is how reflectors are. So they're not really lying. It's just that they're reflecting. That's just what they do, right? And it'll take for you to dig deep into them and to ask them questions, and then they'll let you know. And they'll be like, no, you know, I'm just here for you. They'll be crying with you and everything. Be like, are you really sad? Are you really? And it's like, no, but I'm here for you though. You're crying and I want to be here with you and I want to support you, you know? So this is how they can be at their most enlightened. You know, they're highly empathic beings. There's no one more empathic than the reflectors.
Right. So
Other
Raven,
than us projectors.
yes, which I think we should do them next.
Yeah.
So Raven is asking, so do they, can you scroll that back up?
Oh, I'm
Please?
sorry.
Do they still have their own feelings? That's a great question. And of course, yes.
Yes.
Still a soul having to go through this, right? So emotionally defined people have feelings. Emotionally undefined people have feelings. We all have feelings. We all have different sensitivities. We're all human beings getting impacted by this dance and the Maya, right?
Oh, I got something
Go on.
real quick.
Go on.
They do have feelings, but their feelings is based on your feelings. Meaning, if you are angry all the time because you're not following your strategy, the reflector is now going to be feeling angry all the time because you're not following your strategy. So do they have feelings, right? Or are they reflecting? Once again, eventually you'll see, like, as soon as you start becoming more happy, then all of a sudden that magical anger that they had, it starts to magically go away. Then they start reflecting your joy. So they do have feelings. It's just that their feelings can be kind of jumbled up, and it can really be, you know, another person can really kind of flip them. It can kind of change and shift the temperature, right? But that's at first. That's just the first layer of a reflector. Once the reflector knows that the reflector is a reflector, it knows, okay, this person is upset. So I can feel their upsetness. It's not me, it's them. I can feel that. So then they start to detach themselves away from the feelings of others, and then they start to now reflect back to you and actually give you a sort of counseling feedback. So if a reflector is watching something funny on television, do they laugh? Right? Or are they laughing because the studio audience is laughing? All you have to do is take the studio audience out, and then if a comedian says a joke and it's funny, the reflector is going to laugh, and it lets you know if they have feelings or not. And they do. It's just that they're kind of always working. But after the 28 days, it's kind of like a window opens up, and then their true self emerges. And at that 28-day period, you will get a dose of their true feelings. And a lot of their true feelings can be pent up from never, ever expressing themselves after their 28-day reflection period. So they're so used to not expressing themselves that they're lost, and they don't know that they actually do have feelings. They can get lost in that. So that's a very good question.
And then even though, again, they have the least consistency of any of the aura types, they do have gates defined. So there is a consistency in the way they experience feelings that's just much more muted than the rest of us. So for example, let's say they have, of course, they have an undefined solar plexus. Let's say they have gate 6 activated. That's the gate of conflict and friction. So they are going to have a lens of conflict and friction, which becomes the peacemaker. That's the high vibration of the gate 6 every time they're dealing with the emotional wave. But when and how and where they experience emotional waves depends on who they are around. So even if they're around somebody else with a defined solar plexus who doesn't have gate 6, that energy of the defined solar plexus is going to be seen through the lens of their gate 6, if that makes sense. So they do have certain things that are consistent. Of course, they have a structure that creates a personality, but really, like, they're here to experience full spectrum.
Yes.
And that can be very confusing in a land where we're learning about individuation, you know, your personality, the ego, the self-importance makes us want to define and align ourselves to something and identify with certain things. And they can't really do that. So because they can't do it in the same way the other types can, it can make them feel very other, very separate, very different, and lonely.
Yes.
It's a chameleon role, but the chameleon still has feelings and an identity.
Yes. Yes. Good. Dang, that was a great question.
And then Cheryl said, if we look at our HD chart, where is our reflector energy located? I thought I heard you say center. Is this correct? Okay, so what I meant, Cheryl, is if you look on your chart at the centers that are white, these are the centers where you are empathic. That will give you a taste of what it's like to be a reflector, but then you got to stretch your imagination because every single one of the centers on their chart are white and therefore empathic. So I'm offering that as a way for us to try to have more compassion and understanding. Secondly, the dream rave, which is a different chart, which you cannot get online. You have to have the software, as far as I know. That is describing who you are when you leave your body at night and go into the dream realm. And for the majority of humans, we are reflectors there. I'm a reflector there, but I'm a manifesting generator in waking life. So that's what I was referring to.
Yes. And you said you wanted to ask another question off of mute.
Yeah.
Cheryl?
Yeah, Cheryl, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask.
Okay. Hello, here I am.
Hi.
Hello.
So can you see and hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my question is, so I'm a manifesting generator. So can I have reflector traits? Or is this specific to reflectors?
If you have a reflector dream body, then
Mhm.
you can tap into those traits.
Okay.
I don't know offhand what your dream rave is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Do
don't
you
know
want
either.
to, yeah, do you want to?
Well, I'm gonna actually set up an appointment come February, the beginning of February.
Okay.
Yeah,
The reason why I asked is because the reflector energy that you're describing kind of resonates with me. That's why I ask, can like a manifesting generator have reflector energy? Yeah.
And yeah, and that's a good question too, Cheryl, because at the end of the day, all of the white centers in your chart, you want to actually go from being absorbers to reflectors. So the enlightenment of the open white centers in your chart is that they are to become reflectors. So all white, where you see white, that's where you're the reflector, AKA the student.
yes. Like also all these undefined white charts, I mean, white centers, we're there to grow wise. So we can relate to that process of the reflector. And I'm sure if you really contemplate your undefined centers and all the trial and errors, regardless of whether you're a 3 or not, it's like, oh, you know, my mind and crown are totally open. And I've had to do a lot of trial and error to gain wisdom about which ideas I pay attention to and which ones I let slide, and what things I reflect back and what things I allow myself to absorb and integrate and take in. So the reflector is doing that in all 9 centers.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thank you, Cheryl.
Sure.
Okay. So last chance for questions on reflectors. You want to do projectors next? But I want you to show that picture first because we're going to trick them.
Okay.
Okay. This is the part we're probably the most excited about because we want to really flip the script on this one. The rest of them, I feel you probably won't be as surprised, but we're going to talk about projectors now because again, in the last webinar, we forced the projectors to wait. So we're going to honor them. Now, in human design lore, projectors are often described as the vampires.
Yes. Yes.
Which understandably creates a lot of triggering, a lot of confusion, a lot of debating.
Whole lot.
Ruffled feathers, hurt feelings.
Feathers, ruffled, feelings hurt.
Right? So we want to really offer just a different interpretation here. And I also want to just take this little opportunity to get on my soapbox and just let's all recognize any type can be a vampire. I know manifesting generators who are not supposedly, we are the most energetically consistent types. We have the most access to energy of any of the aura types. But I know manifesting generators who are energy vampires because they have unresolved stuff. They're not working their energy properly. They have they're distraught about something that they just can't get into alignment about. And so they suck the energy out of the room with their narcissism or their victim mentality or what have you, right? So anyone can be a vampire. Now, let's discuss why people call projectors vampires.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the shadow of projectors and why this idea is here. Do you want to take that on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just a little bit. So me, one being a projector, this is why this was like, it's been so deep for me because this was something that I learned when I first got into the human design. When I first got into the human design, I learned about this because the strategy for the projector and the strategy for the reflector, because I want to say everybody's strategy at least one time, right? So the strategy for a reflector is to wait 28 days before you make a decision. So each and every type has a specific strategy that allows for you to kind of flow with the stream as opposed to going against the stream. So as a projector, our strategy is to wait to be invited. And when I first heard about this, it kind of triggered something in me because I love watching vampire movies. And
so many of our projector clients will tell you they were obsessed with this vampire series, that vampire show, this vampire novel series.
I'm talking like 98% of all of the projectors I've done over the past 12 years of doing this human design work. Every last one of us love watching vampires, or we had some kind of secret vampire obsession. And
meanwhile, I never even saw Twilight until I got with Kayvon. I literally had no interest in any of the vampire stuff. It left me cold, pun intended.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the main strategy is wait to be invited. And what I noticed is that in every vampire movie, the very first thing that they always talk about is, in order for a vampire to actually have any effect on you, or for a vampire to enter into your home, you have to wait to be invited, or you have to invite them in. So I started to just do the research on my own, and I was like, wait a minute, vampires are the people that you're supposed to like have to invite in. But every single movie that I saw, vampires were super negative, right? Like sucking people blood. And you got some vampires like in Twilight, they had the positive versions and they had the negative versions. But what's up with this whole blood sucking thing? Mm. So as a projector, we don't have defined sacrals, meaning in a very basic language, the sacral energy isn't colored in. So it's white. So that means that we're literally pulling in that energy from other people. The only issue with this is that this is the only center within the human design that's designed for our life force. So we all need sacral energy in order to survive. Generators, manifesting generators, you guys have this ability to kind of replenish your sacral energy. Manifestors don't have sacral energy at all either, but they are pure energy beings. So it's not really felt the same way as projectors. So,
but manifestors can also be vampiric.
Manifestors can totally be vampiric. Yeah. And to be, this is the funniest part about manifestors being vampiric. Johnny Depp, who we're seeing in this picture right here, is a manifestor playing a vampire.
And I think the way that the manifestor energy can feel vampiric is that, not to take up time for the projectors, but in contrast, understand the nuances. Manifestors energy says, get out of my way. It doesn't say, oh, who are you? I want to respect you and your space and your energy. And I want to respect all the ways that you're supporting the thing that I'm initiating. That's not the natural way that they work. Now, of course, there's many manifestors who fortunately had parents who were able to raise them in such a way that they understand respect, they understand about informing before they make their moves, etc. And we're obviously going to get back into that later. But I think that the way that the manifestor energy can feel vampiric is when they fail to recognize and respect.
Yes.
Recognition and respect is something manifestors have to learn. It is not natural. And Junior is a manifestor, and we as his parents are learning the way to help raise a manifestor to understand respect, because it's not natural for their energy. Imagine your aura literally has no obstacles in the pure energetic sense. That's not innately respectful. You're not slowing down. You're not making space for others. Your energy is just moving. It's like Ganesha knocking down the obstacles. So that's how that can come in. And then similar with the reflectors, there can be that vampiric feeling because reflectors, they literally have no consistent energy. They must rely on others because they can't consistently do energetic things all the time. So anybody with an undefined sacral could fall into that if they aren't following their strategy and authority, etc.
Yes. And at the end of the day, just know that we all can tap into the divine energy from within, right? We can go beyond types and all of this stuff, but then we wouldn't be on Earth. If you're on Earth, then you came here to play a type. You came here to play a certain archetype, a certain role. Now,
Yeah, you don't hire an actor to play everybody in the movie. You hire Brad Pitt to play the sexy guy that the girl likes or whatever. You know, you hire somebody else to play another character. You don't play every character in the movie, even though from a higher dimensional standpoint, everything is source. Every actor is a piece of source, differentiating for a story. Source is just exploring itself. But once we're down here in 3D, the drink that I just drank didn't warm up any of your bellies. We're differentiated. There's separation here. And it's there for us to learn, as Kayvon mentioned early, very specific lessons.
Yes. All right. So
yeah, so also that whole idea of they have to be invited. Once you invite them in, you can't get rid of them. When you connect with a projector, it's for life. When a projector taps in, they can tap into your aura forever. This is the thing about projectors. And if you know what a projector is and you know people's charts and you think back to the projectors in your life and when you first met them, for any type, especially generators though, you can feel the penetrating aura. Right? This is why projectors must be invited in, because it's a very phallic energy.
AKA biting on the neck, penetrating into the system.
And then what do? Absorb.
And then we absorb. So
that's
the projector's aura is focusing, AKA penetrating, and then absorbing. So we can see how the vampire myth kind of is accurate when it comes to the mechanics of what the projector is, but the fact that they're portrayed in these negative lights, right? The vampire is portrayed in a negative light when the vampire is supposed to be a very wise, immortal being that has the test of time under its belt.
That's why I want to briefly talk about the Twilight version.
Yes.
Because Twilight is what it is, okay? But what was interesting to me about Twilight is it actually is an example of evolved projectors.
Yes.
So the quote unquote good vampires, what's her name again? Swan, Bella, and Edward, right? Edward is honest with Bella. He doesn't try to trick her. He doesn't try to deceive her. She knows what she's getting into. So then my question becomes, why does she get so attracted to him? Why does she want to be with him? He is a bright, shining light, like a lighthouse. This is the other side of projectors. People want to, trash them as as vampires. But what is a vampire? They are luminous beings that have tapped into immortality, right? All the girls in the school are fascinated with Edward. Why? Because he stands out. I bet you the reflectors in that school are super obsessed with Edward too, because he's different. Projectors are only 20% of the population. They are beacons, they are bright lights. This is again why projectors, you don't have to initiate like manifestors, you don't have to respond like generators. You're the lighthouse. The lighthouse doesn't have to move. Everyone comes to you. So I just felt like what I liked about Twilight is it offered this more nuanced experience of what is a vampire. Some of them are the ethical ones, and then there's the ones who are negative in a negative spiral and don't really respect other humans or humans, because I guess they're no longer considered human.
Yeah, and also in Twilight, what was deep was that they can actually be out in the daytime.
Yes.
And
that was the other thing.
And that his skin, when the sun hit it, it was shining like a crystal. It was actually sparkling like crystal. So the vampire in Twilight represents the crystalline being. It represents an evolution in humanity. So reflectors, so these projectors are like, you know, some of the first beings that are kind of going crystalline in this reality. And for whatever reason, you know, they don't need food, so to say. They need life force in order to survive. And life force is something that you don't have to take from another person. And that's what I feel like, that's what the enlightenment of the projectors is going to be at the end of the day, is realizing that that the life force is within yourself. But when you're working with other people, automatically the energy connects into that sacral, and then it starts to pull energy. So this is why as projectors, we work in even exchanges of energy, because our energy literally, like, if we're going to be around you, right, we're going to be pulling energy from you. So we want to do something for you. So the way that we operate a lot of the times is just, I do this, you know, you do this for me, I do that for you. And we operate easily like that as projectors, this way that you won't get called the vampire, right? So I'm giving you something while at the same time you're giving me something. And this is how simple it is. It's not supposed to go no deeper than just the law of even exchange.
And it's maybe even more, we would say, equilibrium. So for example, I might cook meals for Kayvon several days in a row, and then he does some body work on me. It's not the same amount of time. It's not the same amount of life force energy, but the results of the body work he does on me are profound and lasting. So there's an equilibrium there.
Yes,
but if I sit here as a manifesting generator and count up all the hours that I did work for Kayvon on his behalf, because I cooked his food or did the grocery shopping this week, it's, oh, bye, Caroline. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Caroline, see you later.
We'll put the replay up as soon as we can. So you can't, as generators, this is something else maybe to add right now. As generators and manifesting generators, we cannot expect the non-energy beings to do what we do. They also should not be expecting us to do what they do. So just like I can't expect Kayvon, if I'm going to go on a 5-mile hike, he probably is not going to walk with me. Right? Because that's like torture for him. Whereas for me, it's just regular energy, right?
Just working out. It's a regular workout.
Right. So just really respecting that. But at the same time, I can't sit for 8 hours and do mental focused work like he can. It'll drive me crazy. But that's valuable. I mean, we have these Rife machines, which he's now offering for clients, and he's been using for my health as well. If I was the one who had to figure out how to deal with this Rife machine and work it out, well, we just would not be using the Rife machine because it's too much mental work, right? So
I had that specific thought last night, by the way.
Yeah, but that's a real thing. And if it comes to making dinner, if it's up to Kayvon, well, we're just not going to make dinner. We'll have to get takeout because that's just how he is, right? So respecting our different capacities and not having this tyrannical demand that everything is tit for tat, same, same, same. So looking more for the equilibrium rather than like a blunt material plane equality.
Yes, thank you. It's just literally the law of exchange is what it's not even even exchange, just law of exchange.
And I think that vampiric projector bitterness, it comes when projectors lose sight of the energy that people have given to them, and the energy beings lose sight of the guidance the projectors have offered them.
Yes.
So respecting one another and what we're bringing.
Yes. And speaking of guidance, right? And just the last thing about the vampire part of the projector, because they have longevity and they've been around for so long, this is easily the reason why they can be guides. They, if you meet the right vampire, then they have been through all of the cycles of humanity. And you realize that humanity has been kind of, they say it's nothing new under the sun. So the vampires are the ones who are uncovering that because they live long enough to go through these cycles of seeing how humanity is shifting and changing. So at the end of the day, the vampires, aka the projectors, they become the guides.
Right. Whereas in the 3D world, the projectors, they're actually the newest aura type. But the way that I would translate that is they spend the most time, perhaps the only one similar is reflectors. Reflectors and projectors spend the most time observing the patterns of individuals and humanity from the sidelines with that overview, being able to tap into the grids, being able to tap into the, the species and what's going on with us, and bring that wisdom down in a way that energy beings can't do because we're busy being energy beings.
Yeah, and even the reflectors don't really do it that much simply because the reflectors are busy reflecting. So they're not as mental as projectors, believe it or not. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, the projectors is focused.
Yeah, we're really, really focused on the mental stuff because the reflectors, a reflector can have a job, a 9-to-5 job for 40 years straight and love it because they're around a bunch of generators who love doing their jobs. So, and they're just amplifying that and feeding off of that energy and it'll work for them. But projectors, it won't. We'll literally absorb their energies into our systems and start running it as if we are generators. Because we don't have that protective Teflon barrier, it leaves us vulnerable just to our energy really being overly used.
Yes, and that's such an important distinction. The saving grace of the reflector is that Teflon barrier. And when the reflector learns how to reflect and not absorb, they can do really well. The projector, no matter how much they work on their undefined centers, their aura is an absorbing aura type. So the difference is the reflector can have that Teflon and push it back. So even if they're around people who are dysfunctional, they at least have that grace afforded them. But projectors don't have the capacity to do that. And meanwhile, they have to wait for you to invite them to tell you what's wrong with you. And if you don't invite them and you don't want to hear it, they just have to live with what's wrong with you. It's very painful. So
like this projector, if you like, I don't like to be around places too much where it's too much toxic energy. Where people, they don't want to go in too deeply about themselves because at the end of the day, I'll end up absorbing your stuff. So it's highly important for me to operate via the invitations and to deal with it like that. Because when I get invited, it's like the energy is set up properly to where it's like safety measures on an energetic side to where, all right, now I'm the guy and I can separate my energy a lot easier because now I'm giving your stuff back to you. So even though I absorb, I can still finagle my way into turning it into a reflector by announcing what's not me. But I can't announce what's not me if I'm not invited.
Right. That's the catch-22.
So it's so weird being a projector.
So let's flip the script now. And we want to offer a new mythical creature for projectors who also has to be invited. Which you choose, because this is your.
And that mythical creature is
The Genie.
the Genie. Dang, I thought it was gonna be bigger.
So this is the Will Smith version.
This is
And
the
I'm
Will Smith
glad that
version.
you chose this photo because there's something beautiful in this movie about the Genie that I do want to talk about.
Okay.
So how is a Genie a projector? Well, you have to rub the bottle. That's the invitation. When,
Actually, hold on.
What?
Oh, wait. No, we're gonna
wanna
do
go
it
to
this
the other
face.
one?
We're gonna go with this one first.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, you have to rub the lamp, right? They can't bring themselves out on their own. So rubbing the lamp is inviting them. Once they come out of the lamp, they're not talking about themselves. They're not trying to make their own dreams come true. They are focused on you and your dreams, helping you fulfill your wishes. Because as you recall from our original video, Intro to Aura Types, the projector aura question is, who are you?
Yes. So just like she said, the lamp. If you are a projector and you're watching this, the lamp is everything for us because this is where we live. This is where I'm at right now.
It's a non-energy realm. It's a mental realm outside of the energy field.
Outside of the energy field, outside of what's
Like-
seeming to be space and time,
In suspended animation.
in suspended animation within my own world. And when you visit us, whenever you guys come through, you get the invite to come visit us, you'll see that my house is kind of like that. It's like a genie's lamp. It's like inside of it is a bunch of different stuff, like from pyramids to workout machines to crystals to electric bikes to fireplaces to all type of stuff is inside of this lamp, right? Scripts for movies, all type of stuff. So as a projector, the lamp is where we get a lot of our stuff done. It's where we spend a lot of our time. But the reason why this resonated so much with me as a projector is literally, it's just the lonely factor. A lot of us projectors, this is how we feel. We feel as if we exist in this lamp. And the only thing people can kind of see is they see the design of the lamp and they see all of that stuff. And this is kind of what they see us as. They see us as just this little thing in the lamp and you can rub it and then get wishes and then go about your business. And then we go back into the lamp after the third wish, waiting for somebody else to rub the lamp, to get mystified by the beauty of the lamp, right? So that we can just come out and do our thing. But the reason why I like this image is because the genie that's coming out here, it doesn't really have a full human form. It's kind of like ether, but it's kind of just like light. And this is how the projector is. We're really like this. We're like these ethereal light people. And we try to go out here and prove ourselves in the regular world by getting jobs or by, manifesting just as much stuff as everybody else. Right? And we try to go about our lives in an energetic way when nothing about this energy states a hardcore human heart, individual, just grounded energy. So when you're dealing with projectors, just understand that you're not dealing with a grounded energy like a generator, like we're going to go into next, right? You're dealing with this light force, and this force, you can see it's like smoke, and you can follow the smoke to your destination. The actual projector is the guide. We provide the smoke that leads you to your destiny. And while doing that, it leads us to our destiny. And it allows us to know who we are and allows us to know the importance of service. So when you're the projector and, like the genie is forced into service, we're the only type that's forced literally into servitude. Like we cannot come out, like we cannot do what we want to do. We can go out there and do things in the world, but it has zero effect. Like no one will know about it. Like we can do all type of stuff. We can change the entire world and no one will ever really know about it because it's not a grounded energy like that.
Yeah, projectors are the most natural grid workers of all the aura types. So projectors can go and change an entire community from another dimension. And we'll see it down here in 3D as a bunch of workers coming and building a park and cleaning the streets and fixing the schools. But you would never even know that this non-energy being did this from another level of the playing field.
Just with thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. So can we go back to one of the other ones? So I want to talk about, and it doesn't really matter which one you show, but I want to talk about something beautiful that happened in the Will Smith depiction of the genie. Right? So spoiler alert, sorry. But we always hear about the genies having 3 wishes, right? And then the people who are having their wishes granted usually go through a trial and error story about be careful what you wish for type of thing.
Now pause real second. So she said 3 wishes. Literally, let me tell y'all, and this is before I found out about projectors being in alignment with genies. I always tell people that they should get at least 3 sessions with me.
Wow. We even have a 3-session package with you.
I even have a 3-session package with me that you can sign up for.
Yeah.
So, and I did this not knowing about the genie thing because I always looked at projectors as the vampire thing. And I was trying to like finagle a way to like be positive about projectors being positive vampires, but it's hard, right? Genies, on the other hand, you can kind of flow more with the positive genie.
Well, everybody wants to find a genie. Who wouldn't want to find a genie?
Exactly.
And if you really understand what a projector is, you will understand that when you found a projector, you found a genie.
You really
Just
have.
like if you find a reflector, you got yourself a unicorn. And it really is that real. So can I say the punchline now?
Go ahead.
So this is something that really, I actually saw this film, this version with Kayvon in the theater. And it was so beautiful because in this version of the story about a genie, the 3rd wish is to free the genie.
Yes.
And up until now, many of us generators, because the question of the generator is, who am I? The question of the manifester is, who do I impact? The question of the reflector is, who is different? None of us have the question of how can we free the projector? How can we recognize them the most deeply? By freeing them. But it's like we get so caught up in projectors fulfilling our wishes, we forget that they're people. Let's really be honest. This happens because as energy beings, it's easy to overlook that non-energetic input of guidance because it's not laying bricks and building a physical house. It's so much more subtle. It's not a material contribution. It's a contribution of consciousness, their guidance. And so we can become forgetful and dismiss that. But the beautiful thing about this version is that the 3rd wish ends up being used to free the genie, which has never happened ever, ever, ever in however millennia he's been doing this job. And that's where we want to offer this new mythical creature for the projector and invite everybody to consider the projector who you've invited in, who's really done a good job of guiding you, who's really doing their work to clean up their act when they're inside of that, the lamp, so that their guidance is really of the greatest vibration and clarity. Consider the ways that you can free them in return. One of those ways is don't expect them to turn around and do the energetic work with you. If you're a manifester, don't expect them to go and initiate stuff like you do, right? And if you're a reflector, don't expect them to be able to handle all the sampling you can handle with your Teflon aura because they're absorbing.
Or pay them for their services.
Pay them for their services.
Instead of wanting to try to, not trying to get crazy extra discounts for them all the time. Because we need the energy, y'all.
Right.
Right. We're not free, right? We gotta, it's hard for the projectors to work. Like the fact that I feel like the part is us having to guide and give wisdom and do all of that stuff, and then physically have to go and try to work to make a living.
Yeah, because even though projectors are not energy types, the work that they do requires energy. Mental work, focusing on another person, that focusing of your aura, it requires energy, right? So again, our intention here is for all of us to begin to respect and have compassion for the very unique and particular ways we are experiencing being human.
Yes.
Do you want to open for questions?
Yeah.
So does anyone have any questions or comments about projectors before we go to the next type?
Can you repeat the question about the reflector is who is different? What is the projector?
The projector is, who are you?
Who
Meaning
are you?
they're asking, who is the other? The projector is designed to focus on the other. So imagine a coach of a football team, right? When the football team is in the weight room, the coach isn't in the mirror lifting weights, watching his muscles grow. He's not looking at himself ever. He's only looking at the players. Whereas the players will be in the mirror, they're watching their technique, and they're going to be generators 99% of the time. The quarterback could be a manifester, but the manifestors, they burst and rest. So manifestors aren't going to be the linebackers. They're not going to be, or like on a basketball team. It's going to be tough for a manifestor to be a basketball player because you're running. That's a generator sport. You have to have consistent, reliable life force energy.
Mm-hmm. And last but not least, on this image, I like this image. I chose this image right here for the genie simply because of the barren landscape around this beautiful lushness. And it sometimes when you're a projector, you can kind of feel like you're on an island by yourself. This is how it feels. It feels as if you're on an island by yourself, and around you is a crazy desert that's not full of people that you know. Or like, so this to me reminds me, it's like the energy field. This is like the energy world. And this is the world of the projector. You know, so for my projectors out here, this image right here is something to contemplate on. Also, even though the landscape might not be as big as the rest of the world, you can still make it lush and beautiful. And you can stand tall and be seen.
And it's attractive.
And yeah, it is super attractive. So there's a high, you know, there's a lot of good qualities about being in this projector energy, but it does come with this isolation. And that isolation is where we go into our mastery. It's how we become these magical genies. One thing that most people don't know about the genie, the mythos about the genie is that, you know how in the cartoons where they had the angel on your left side and then the devil on the right? Well, those images actually depict genies. And genies back in the days were depicted as mental entities that would guide you, whether giving you positive angel advice or giving you negative devilistic advice, right? Or whatever, or the opposite, or contrary, or, you know, contrasting advice. So the genie, even in the old ancient folklore, has always been this mental energy. And it represents the devil on the right, devil on the left. So it can represent the mental left and right brain of our existence. And when you have a projector, we're supposed to be the embodiment of the equalized left and right brain. And this is why you are supposed to be able to trust our energy to guide, because we will never be all the way on the right or all the way on the left if you are doing the projector thing properly. Because this image shows you everything. We're on nobody's side. We're on our own side, waiting to be invited to guide.
But even your own side isn't truly selfish, because your own side is there to serve others by guiding.
Yes.
All right.
That's so any questions?
Any more questions? I think we should do generators next.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to go to, or did you not even download those? But that's okay. No, that's the manifesting generator. Yeah.
Dang, I don't think I did.
It's okay because I'm just going to refute it anyway. So you
Okay.
could go straight to those.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
All right, so
So
next
we're
up,
going to do generators, pure generators.
pure generators, no manifesting generator. Now, generators represent about 70, they say around 65 to 70% of the population.
That includes both generators and manifesting generators. So pure generators are about 35% of humanity. So we chose
Generator.
Wookiees,
Wookiees, y'all.
Chewbacca.
Chewbacca.
Do you have the single picture of Chewbacca?
Oh.
Down the other end? No.
Ooh, man.
Can you take this bar and take it across? This bar down here? Yeah, let's start with,
This
oh,
one?
actually, let's do this first because
This
I
one?
want to say, no, far left. I want to say, okay.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah, I didn't see this one.
Here's what I wanna
Ooh, this
say.
is good.
we had talked about using Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti as the generator creature. But the catch-22 for me is that I don't actually think they're, I thought it would be Chewbacca. So I don't think that the Sasquatch is a mythical creature. The evidence I've seen, this is a real being. Now, I'm not sure that this picture
What-
is real.
Well, no, you right, Michelle, you hitting on some deep, you about to jump into some real. So before, because I want to set you up. So,
Okay, set me up.
so I don't know if you guys ever heard of cryptids. You ever heard of cryptid?
Only from you.
Okay. So there's these things, they call them cryptids. And cryptids are like I feel like cryptids are like these mythical creatures. And they have people whose job literally is to kind of search for cryptids and these mythical, weird type creatures. So the Sasquatch, the Yeti, aka cryptids, yeah, Amy, yeah. So Sasquatch, Yeti, aka Bigfoot, aka Chewbacca, right? I feel like Chewbacca.
They're
Chewbacca
different.
is the enlightened version. Chewbacca is like Chewbacca made it to Hollywood, right? Chewbacca is. I feel like Chewbacca is the Sasquatch that made it to Hollywood, but also is the pure generator in the sense that Chewbacca comes from a land where it's only generators, where it's only them. These Sasquatch, or this Yeti or Sasquatch or whatever it is, belongs into the category of cryptids. And the cryptids were like these beings, I feel like, that existed in a time to where our veils were a whole lot thinner. And you had a society to where it was half dreamlike and half physical like. So we had a lot more of these type of creatures, but these hairy beings, you can find documentaries on them, and they call them dog-like men or hairy men in Europe and all these other places, to where it's a lot of people talking about these humanistic looking people with a bunch of hair on their bodies, and they live in the jungle. And like, so this is why I feel like you say, like, this is a real thing. But also myths, just for everybody to know, this is what mythical creature, just to let you know, myths are nothing but stories from the ancient past told to us now that we just don't have enough physical maybe evidence to say this is true or not. But at the end of the day, a lot of these myths comes from elders and people who have carried down these stories through verbal lineage for eons. And we're calling it a myth and dismissing it as if it's something fake.
Yeah, I always think of myths as historical things that happened in other dimensions. So this whole veil thing that you're talking about, I mean, I will tell you, I might not be able to find a unicorn in 3D, but they exist in another dimension, maybe that's less dense, right? So these mythical creatures, it's not that they're not real, They're just not in this density with us, at least not right now.
Because we dropped into that lower third density, and
Yeah.
that's what kind of blinded us to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, so that's been, you know, some of the trick going through this, because there were definitely some characters that could be great creatures to represent the aura types, but we were really trying to go for the ones that aren't in this density with us, they're in other densities. So this is why the Yeti, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, I kind of felt at the end, there's just too much evidence that they're actually in 3D with us.
Yeah. That's why it's like less mythical.
But a couple things, let's talk about how they match, and then we'll go to talk about Chewbacca and his peoples. So the Yeti, they don't initiate. They don't come into the cities messing with us. They don't come in bothering people. They stay in their area. And it's only when you go in their space do they respond and react to you, right? But we don't have like a bunch of them invading the cities, initiating stuff or trying to mess with humanity. It's more when you invade their space, they respond.
Yeah, and they respond simply because as a generator, the strategy for the generators is simply to respond to life, not to initiate and to kind of start things and to get things going, no matter how much you may feel the burning energy to go out there and try to start things.
Mm-hmm.
If you go out there to try to start things and you're covered in hair and you're like 8 feet tall and you can barely, and you don't know how to talk, you just make noises, you're gonna seem very weird and wild to people.
Yeah.
And you might have some problems, right? You might have some static in your generating abilities. So a lot of these, so when it comes to the strategy and authority, right? The strategy in the human design, remember, is to say it's kind of to save your life at a certain level.
Yeah, not even kinda.
Not
It
even,
is.
no, it is to
And
save
in a
your
lot
life.
of situations, not listening to your inner authority and not following your strategy can result in literal death.
Yes. So understanding that if you're a generator, you know, you have this capacity to wait to respond, because if you do not wait to respond, you can be seen in a very different light, right, than what you truly are. These beings, these Yetis or Sasquatches, right? I mean, we don't really know a lot about them other than us just making these assumptions. You know, we have to kind of go to them. We have to figure out a way to like approach them and figure out a way to get them to respond to something, you know, because any other way is just not working. Like you can't go and invade in their territory because you're gonna get messed up.
Well, yeah, I mean, the respectful way is to, just like with the generator, ask them questions
Yes.
and determine what they're needing, wanting, etc. So a similar thing too, the parallel with the generator is sounds. So a pure generator doesn't have the throat connected to a motor. They can have a defined throat, but it's not connected to a motor. So they don't have consistent access to the throat energy. This is why they are like that guttural sound, or if you don't know. So it's or
So
right?
look, now we can kind of transition to.
Well, 1 second before we go, because
Okay.
I just want to say one thing about the Sasquatch, then we'll go to Chewbacca.
All right, good. The
So,
sound when we go to sound.
Yeah, so apparently this phenomenon of the Bigfoot Yeti, it exists all over the world, but they tend to be different sizes, maybe slightly different hair colors, right? So there's different species of them, but I regret that I don't remember where it was. I have a feeling it was in the Pacific Northwest. A group of people, they somehow managed to record lots of the sounds from them, and linguists looked at this and discovered it really is a language. It doesn't sound like English or Japanese or French or, you know, whatever, Zulu. It has a consistent language within it though, similar to the way the generator does. So no, the generator, pure generator, doesn't say yes, no, or maybe. They feel this, or the or the which means I don't know, or it could mean not now. So this is, no, that's, yeah, stay there. So I just want to mention that about these Bigfoots. So instead of Bigfoot, we decided, and we both agreed that Chewbacca and the Wookiees are the greatest mythical creature to represent the generator. And who doesn't love Chewie, right? It's a warm, embracing aura. It's magnetic. You're drawn to them. They don't initiate, but they do get frustrated. How many scenes did we see where Chewbacca was frustrated? Right?
The whole movie, Chewbacca is freaking frustrated.
Yes. And he's not the initiator.
No,
Right?
no.
And he's stuck in the contract with Han Solo.
It always seemed like Chewie never wants to really do what he has to do, but his contract, his loyalty, his friendship, he's like, you know what? I told him I'm gonna be his friend to the end, so I'm gonna remain his friend to the end because that's in the contract. So generators are contractual beings. I feel like it's the best picture to describe generators because generators roll in groups. You guys are the majority of what's on the planet. So if you go to planet Wookiee, right? The whole entire planet is filled up with them, right? Filled up with these beings, and there's trees everywhere. If you go watch the movie, it's and you see more of that planet in the later Star Treks, meaning like
the ones that came out later.
the ones that came out later, like the first, second, and third one. I believe maybe it was the third one. I
They
can't
give
remember.
more of like the origins.
Or they just show Yoda going and visiting the Wookiees, and he was over there. So you got to see a lot more of the landscape. And as a generator, the reason why I like the Wookiees is because the Wookiees, they remind me of the color of wood. And it's a lot of woodsy energy when you're talking about Sasquatches and Bigfoot. And the wood.
Look, you want to see what a Wookiee is?
Somebody
Unmuted their thing.
yeah. So
Sorry, that was me.
so yeah, just mute your thing for us.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't mind.
Everyone just check that your thing is muted.
So the Wookiees, you know, dang, where was I?
Woodsy.
Woodsy, okay.
Forests.
Woodsy, foresty, right? And what I'm getting at with this is you use wood to build. Wood was one of the first major, just energies that we utilize to build things on the planet. And I definitely feel that the Wookiees represent that wood energy, like big time. And they're big, they're strong. So generators are normally big and strong individuals because they are the builders of society. So connecting in with your inner Wookiee will connect you into your inner builder, right? Connecting into that wood energy. And the wood element is an actual element within the body, and the wood represents the liver. So going back to what Michelle was talking about, because she was talking about the sound part, and that was I feel like that's the most important part, because generators, how you guys make decisions in life is based on that guttural sound. If you are making decisions based on your thoughts, then you're not being the Wookiee, and you will be the frustrated Chewie. Right. But if you honor the feelings, these Wookiees are they are feeling individuals.
Yes.
They don't need talk words so much because everything is a feeling.
And Chewbacca doesn't get mental and analyze if his feelings are right or wrong. He just expresses them and follows them to the best that he can.
Yes. Constantly responding and just showing up and being who he is. He's zero stress.
Yeah, and he doesn't start off conversations. He just responds to what's happening. And yeah, I'm glad that we found this picture of the group of Wookiees, because generators, we really are here to work in groups, particularly pure generators, right? And although we talked earlier about how projectors are really here in service, anybody with a defined sacral You are here in service as well, because the defined sacral has the capacity to respond and be response able. Generators are the only, strictly speaking, response able people. Okay, this is why when we're raising manifestors in particular, but also projectors and reflectors, we have to teach them how they fit in properly and how to work and how they contribute, because they are not responders and they are not response able in the same ways that generators are. Okay, so let's respect the non-sacral beings, but let's also respect the fact that all generators are responsible in ways that other types are not.
Yes.
And that implies and amounts to a certain amount of sacrifice. We sacrifice our life force energy to build for the tribe, for the collective, even for ourselves. But just because we have consistent life force energy doesn't mean it's unlimited.
And I want to switch out the word sacrifice for utilize.
Okay.
We used to sacrifice. There's no more sacrificing for generators. You don't have to sacrifice. You are now utilizing your energy to build a better society.
How about contribute?
It's contribute, but just utilize. I mean, it's better to, it's both utilize and contribute, because you have to use your energy as a generator. You have to, like, I like utilize because you have to use it.
Yeah.
Right. And
you literally do have to use it. If you're a generator and you're not using your energy, you will become sick.
Yes. Yes. So utilizing your energy, but the key here is utilizing it for what? And before, it was utilizing it to make sure that my family is eating every day. But well, when we have the foundations of what we have, when you understand who you are and that you are a divine expression of source, divine expression of God, that energy has no detriment. There is no such thing as you don't have, or there is no way. Right? It's literally the game we're playing is the game of expression. We have gotten tricked into playing the game of survival.
Yes.
It's not the game of survival, y'all. It's the game of expression. And how sincere are you going to be about your expression? How professional, how masterful are you going to be in your expression? This is what it's about. So the first prizes, second prizes, third place, and all of that stuff, it's just about the gauging of how masterful we are in our expression most of the time. Once we realize that, one, we don't need first, second, and third place. A lot of us just need to go out and just do it. Right? And you doing it automatically wins you the first place. This is the new world we're moving into. You can't understand it, but everyone wins, regardless of if the person comes in last place. I finally got that now, because I was always first place. But I always felt weird because people made me feel different than the people that was in last place. But I was always friends with the people in last place. I didn't feel no different. It's just that I expressed it in this way. Maybe you know, they were never really meant to perfect this particular expression. Or maybe their 8th place was the perfection of that expression.
Yeah.
And it should have never been called 8th place.
Or they still had an experience. See, this is the thing here. I'm glad you're bringing this up. So Kayvon's speaking as a projector, right? The projectors are here for success. Generators aren't here for success. We're here for satisfaction.
Yes.
So I could run a race and not get first place and still feel satisfied because I had an experience. I moved my energy, my body got the exercise. Now, of course, we can have egos just like anybody else and want to win first place. There's nothing wrong with wanting to win first place as a generator. But a generator can have the experience of, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game.
Yes.
However, the projector, who's the coach on the sidelines, if his team never wins, he might lose his job.
Yep.
So projectors are here to be successful because in that success, they get recognized And then they get invited to do more guidance, which is how they then in exchange get life force energy and support. Generators, we're just here for satisfaction. It doesn't matter if we succeed in the projector sense or not, because we wake up the next day and we've got energy.
Yeah, you were born with the life force and support.
Yeah.
The trick was to get generators to believe that they wasn't. To get you to say, oh snap, I'm poor. I don't have any life force, so let me go and take this job real quick.
Yeah, or I have no magnetism and there's only scarcity, so I have to go be a slave somewhere else to have any meaning in my life. And also that satisfaction doesn't matter. I don't deserve satisfaction. I'm only here to give to others. That's a total backwards thing. Generators, as we talked about in that older webinar, it's important that every single day you're using your energy for your satisfaction. Be selfish with your energy. Your mantra as a generator or a type is, who am I? Generators, we're here to figure out who we are. And that is in service of source, because if you haven't caught on yet, source is still figuring out what and who source is. So by us figuring out who we are, we're helping source understand its own energetic aspect. And it's okay. So we don't have to pretend to be projectors and pretend to put other people first in that way. Naturally, what we do contributes and other people benefit from it, because the building you're sitting in right now was built by generators.
Oh yeah.
Okay. They hopefully felt satisfied in building that thing, right? And now everybody who lives there is going to benefit. Another parallel, I want to say, maybe a little bit less with this one, because they're kind of being a little more fierce, but particularly in the last one. When you look at these Wookiees, right? Like, don't you want to hug them?
They do look like giant.
It's like, oh, I just really want to get in that aura and feel that warmth. And like,
I like this one.
I like all of them, man. That just feels like a squad. Generators, we are supposed to, particularly pure generators, work well in groups. You don't build a house by yourself. You have a team. Generators are more designed to do things in teams to get the job done.
Yes.
And the reason we're able to do that, particularly the pure generators, is pure generators, they don't have any of those sharp edges, right? They don't have the penetrating stuff that the projector brings. They don't have the repelling stuff that the manifestor brings. And they don't have that sort of Teflon thing that can be a little, you know, jarring sometimes, that the reflector brings, right?
Yeah, like the non-feeling, like you can feel,
Yeah,
sometimes reflectors can feel cold,
Yes.
right? And
Especially when they get in their real empowered reflector mode and they're just kind of reflecting back the stuff you don't necessarily want to see.
and speaking of no sharp edges, look at this picture. They don't have any sharp edges other than the teeth.
Yeah. I mean, a generator's got to eat. But yeah, the body shape, it's so soft, and that's the pure generator aura. It's warm, it's inviting, it's magnetic, right?
So generators homework assignment, and I feel like I should get a percentage of their sales is to go out and buy you a Wookiee doll. You know what I mean? Like, look, each type, reflectors, go get a unicorn for homework. Projectors, go find a genie lamp or a little genie coming out the lamp or something like that. And for generators, you can find you some Wookiee merchandise.
This makes me want to be a Wookiee for Halloween next year. So Cheryl got off, but she said, this is so fun and informative. Cheryl Moreau, not the other Cheryl. And then Lisa says, God, I'm laughing out loud so much here. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like you think about Chewbacca's noises. If you're a generator, you can relate, and it's funny. And it's endearing. So, you know, this is the beauty that generators bring. And I feel like I've even heard people say, I'm just a generator. And I'm like, what? This is God's chosen people. You can literally spend your life just doing things to make yourself feel good, build and create good, satisfying stuff around you, and everything you need gets magnetized to you.
This is for real, y'all.
It's the whole law of attraction thing is so much about pure generators. It's so straightforward. Now, of course, some of you may be emotionally defined, which of course adds another layer of complication because you don't just listen to your gut, you have to listen to your emotional waves until it comes to that quiet, still, dry space to give you an answer. However, the same thing remains. The generator aura, it's a straightforward, simple thing. It's law of attraction, it's magnetism. The way you feel is going to be matched in what you attract, right? So
Yes.
honor who you are, recognize how beloved Chewbacca is, and that's you as well. Like generators are so special and beautiful. They make everybody feel so good, so welcome, so warm, so accepted, right? This is beautiful. And Lisa then adds, and the frustration, this is genius. Yes, we all generators, like we can feel Chewy's frustration, right? We know that feeling. So any questions about generators before we move to the next type? Okay, so I know this is tough for manifestors to hear because it's tough for manifestors to sit still for so long, but we're doing manifestors last because y'all were first in the last webinar. But also for manifestors, because you impact others, it is helpful for you to understand other people so you understand what your impact is, right? So as a manifestor, understand when you come around a pure generator and have impact.
Generator.
No, we're doing them next.
Oh, but we didn't do regular manifestors either.
No, we're doing regular manifestors at the end because they were first last time.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
we're applying the first shall be last and the last shall be first this time. So yeah, so just know if you're a manifestor with a repelling aura and you have impact, you can be sensitive if you're around a bunch of generators who don't have these sharp edges, who can't repel, understand their vulnerability. And we'll get to the details of that. So the generators are very powerful, but it's a purely feminine aura, right? And we're about to do the contrast with the manifesting generator next. You don't have that masculine repelling side. So whilst you have so many benefits being a generator, there is that vulnerability that this is a feminine aura that is opening, receptive, and welcoming. But also know generators, if something doesn't feel right to you, you have the right to say no.
Yes.
You do not have to sign a contract, either literally or implied, until you feel whether or not it's right for you. Some people are going to make you feel selfish if you say no because they want your energy. But remember, it's your energy first. It's here to build you and make you satisfied first. And if it so happens that a manifestor, a projector, whoever else comes along and says, hey, we're building this project. Do you want to join? Do you want to contribute your energy? If that feels good to you, then you sign the contract. If that doesn't feel good to you, never allow anyone to guilt trip you into slaving yourself out. That is not what you're here for.
Yes, flexible contracts is what I always tell all of my generators. You want to have contracts that allow you to exit when the energy gets real shifty and it's not in alignment with you anymore. You don't, because people will give you gravy contracts, right? It'll seem like it's amazing, but fine print is you can never ever quit, no matter how dangerous or crazy it gets. So you want to really honor the way you feel, because thoughts can really jumble you up as generators. You're not here to be the thought police. You're not here to perfect thoughts. You're here to perfect your feelings and to honor your magnetism.
And if it feels wrong, even if you can't explain it intellectually or in words, if it feels wrong, it's a no. And if somebody else's mental ego demands that you explain and give a logical formula of why that's the correct choice, that person is not respecting you, and nothing good is going to come of that relationship. So feels wrong means I get a weird feeling in my gut. I get the heebie-jeebies. It makes my energy feel low. It makes me feel sad. I don't like that person. You don't have to know why. The feeling is the answer. There may come a time, in particular if you're emotional, that emotional wave may show you the why at some point. But you are not here to answer to anyone's mental ego, including your own. You are here to respect this beautiful life force energy you bring because generators are the ones responsible for what gets created in the reality. If we don't want McDonald's in our communities, we say no to the building contract for McDonald's. And we wait to say yes when somebody comes and says, I'm building an organic fast food restaurant. Then we say yes. Capiche?
Yes. And no matter how long you wait, just know the reality is set up to match your vibration. And you will get your vibration matched. It's just a matter of, did you do enough inner work to clear out the dirty stuff? You know, are you really honoring what it is that you love doing as opposed to what it is you think you have to do? So remember, as a generator, all of your internal feelings and thoughts and all of that stuff, right? It's going out there as a resume. And what's being brought back to you is what's on your resume. So if on your resume is you like to have fun, you like to go on long walks on the beach, you like to eat lobster, you like to do whatever it is, you like vegan stuff, whatever is on that, what you love doing, that's on that resume, it goes out on an etheric level and it comes back, and it'll come back physical, right? It'll come back with physical gifts and physical materials to actually bring you what it is that you want, like pizza.
Yeah, Darwin says pizza.
Right? If you think about pizza and you can taste that bad boy in your mouth, just know you get that feeling. Go online, you're gonna start seeing pizza advertisements, and then next thing you know, somebody may even call you and may say, hey, look, I'm going out to get something to eat. I'm thinking about getting some pizza. Do you want some, or should I bring you back a box?
Well, Kayvon's mother's a generator. She's emotionally defined, and we love to use her as an example. And I witnessed this myself. We were staying with her in Florida visiting. She said she had a taste for Triscuits. I was like, do they even make Triscuits? Personally, I was never a fan, but she had a taste for Triscuits. That day, later that day, somebody knocks on the door. Oh, Miss Sheila, we have some extra baskets from church. They were handing things out. Would you like one? Do you know they had Triscuits in this basket?
I couldn't believe it, y'all. I mean, it was literally just a couple of hours. No,
It was so specific.
and it was not, and Triscuits was just one of the things. You know, she said she wanted a bell pepper,
I
some
thought it was
cabbage,
avocado. Or
avocados.
something.
Yeah, it was
It
something
was
like
like
that.
a bunch of things she had asked for.
And every single thing she said out loud that she asked for came to the house delivered. Like some angel just showed up and was like, here you go. My mom has been living like that since 2014, since I told her about her generator ability and her magnetism.
I have a friend who's a generator, and she contacted me once a few years ago, speaking about how she was having trouble. She got married to somebody who was from overseas. She moved overseas. They really needed a second income, but she no longer had the network she had back in the States. And so was having trouble finding a job, and she was getting ready to go to the post office and hand out resume or send out resumes. And I just said, you know, I just want to remind you, you're a generator. Do you feel like going to the post office? And she said, absolutely not. It's the last thing I want to do, but I feel like I have to. So I just said, well, let's go back to the foundation. You're a magnet. You don't have to go out and initiate. What do you actually feel like doing today? And she said, I feel like staying in bed and watching movies. I said, well, just try that. And what kind of job are you looking for? And she said, well, I would love, so she used to do commercials and music videos, but she was tired of that world. She wanted to do something that would be more interesting for her, like edit documentaries. She wanted to work on the production of documentaries as her next step. So she said, okay, she'll try it. And I reminded her the post office would be there a day or two later. It wasn't going anywhere. So just try the experiment. The next day, she's inboxing me saying how I'm a witch and she can't believe this and blah, blah. So I'm like, what happened? What happened? She said she was sitting in her bed, watching movies, relaxing. The phone rang. A lady said she was looking for someone to help her edit her documentary. She needed someone to start immediately, and the salary was twice what my friend needed to make things work for her. This is how the magic of generators work. But because we've been so colonized and conditioned to work against our own energy, we screw ourselves over by chasing, because we don't give ourselves an opportunity to prove that our aura can work for us in this way. So this is the leap of faith that we help coach people to get across that bridge from the old not self way, going against yourself, chasing like a manifester, initiating like a manifester, getting across that shaky bridge, like, oh, can I really trust this? Will this really work? But you take the risk, you try it, and suddenly the magic starts happening. Now your mental ego can start to relax. The mental ego of others isn't going to trigger you and scare you because you see your magic for yourself. That's what we want to invite generators into.
Yes.
All right, time is marching on. Darwin says, I'm a generator and had a random person bring me a slice of apple pie at work once. I really appreciate this. My birthday was Friday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, yes. So now you can see why, right? Like in what I love about this human design stuff is that it really does answer a lot of the whys. And the why answer, it helps the mind to settle, and it allows for you to like literally anchor yourself in the body more. Because now you know that you're magnetic, right? You can, okay, this is why this came to me. Oh, this is why when I was thinking about this, this came to me. Oh, I remember back in the days, you know, oh, well, I've been having a lot of negativity happening in my life, you know, but I watch a lot of negative movies. I watch a lot of action and adventure. So it seems like my life is matching the stuff that I'm watching on TV or the energy. And it's simply because you're pushing that energy out, and the universe is just going to give you back more of you. So self-leadership is so important for generators. You must master that and understand how you and your frequency. I like to tell generators, it's not what you know that's making your life better. It's not who you know that's making your life better. It's how you feel right now that's determining the outcome and the quality of your life.
And if you're having trouble navigating your, have someone ask you a question. Hey, Darwin, how do you feel about going for a walk right now? Meh. Hey, Darwin, how do you feel about sitting in the hot tub right now? Hey, Darwin, how do you feel about going to the movies tonight? That's like a, not now, maybe, I don't know, right? So having somebody else ask you the question, and remember, you want them to ask you, how do you feel? Not what do you think about going to the movies? How do you feel about going to the movies? And then if you have to, literally put your hands on your gut and potentially your solar plexus, if you're emotionally defined, and feel your feelings. And then honor that, even if it can't make logical sense yet, because this can be a matter of life or death. Somebody might invite you to an event. Your gut's like, but they're trying to ensnare you through all types of logic, or maybe their emotions are overriding you and you agree to go. And then it turns out like somebody's there who ends up being your stalker, or a horrible thing happens, or you get food poisoning. When the gut tells you, listen to it.
Yes.
It will never lead you astray. It might offend or upset other people, but you're not here to make other people satisfied. You're here to make you satisfied. And when you're satisfied, other people around you will enjoy that beautiful feeling that you exude.
Yes. And the non-verbal generated cues that you can look for, because sometimes our system can be very hard-headed and do the and sound like an airplane instead of like a gut. So you want to get a and a or or you know, or you want to get it's a strong gut. And if it's a lazy like that, then that more than likely that's a no.
And sometimes no just means not now.
Yes.
And this is important for generators to know. So for example, sometimes Kayvon asks me if I want to do something and I feel like, but as my partner, I care. I don't want to feel like I'm rejecting him, right? So understanding that sometimes the just means not now. I'm not full on rejecting his idea. We just maybe would do it another time, or maybe tweak it in a way so that it works for both of us and I can say yes.
Or just
Or sometimes it's just a no.
It's just a straight up no.
Yeah.
And we need to, I feel like we all need to get used to people saying no, right? Like
Mhm.
it's like we're all salesmen. And when it's like when your parents tell you no, you try to finagle a way to get them to say yes.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that for so long that we do it with each other. And now the gut person is like, well, they're trying to finagle me to say yes. Should I say yes? So now you start to think, well, maybe I'm saying no because I'm being selfish. Maybe then you start to second guess your no's, and you get mental. And when you get mental as a generator, you will flow into frustration. But also what I wanted to hit on is just the other side of the yeses and nos, which is the body will feel as if it's closing in on itself when it's a no. So
Mhm.
sometimes you are in meditation and you're asking yourself a question and there's no gut feeling because you're like in detached mode, right?
Mm.
So you can ask yourself a question when you're in that mode, and it will literally be, your job is to feel the closing in energy as opposed to the expansive opening up energy. So if someone asks you a question and you don't feel like saying nothing, right? For whatever reason, what you cannot ignore is the feeling of opening up or closing in. And this is what I noticed from the outside looking into generators. I can read you, and when I've seen generators say yes when they really meant no, because their energy was closing in, but they were saying yes. But it was like, or they were forcing the because they may be Stockholmed.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, and Stockholm Syndrome is simply kidnapping someone into a situation, bringing them into a situation that they do not agree with, but because they're in it for so long, they get used to it. And now they're like the #1 freaking campaigners of something that they totally used to hate.
Right.
So,
Yeah, Lisa asks, so
question, yeah.
the how do you feel question goes for emotionally undefined generators as well? Great question. Technically, how do you feel is the question for everybody.
Yes, good answer.
Because remember, human design is about us getting out of mental authority, mental decision-making, and external authority, and learning to rely on body intelligence for decision-making. So
Yes.
it's about more respecting our feminine aspect, our embodied aspect. So in the past, not so distant past, there was a skew towards a masculine orientation that is more about being disembodied. The feminine is more about being embodied. It was more mentally polarized. But when we make decisions from the mental plane, we can't feel anything. This is how we were able to create a world with slavery, child trafficking, exploitation, raping the land, because we were doing it through mental logic and ignoring the feeling.
Yes.
Because in the past, people just didn't understand how to work with the feeling body. It was scary, it was confusing to the mental ego. So the beauty of human design is it helps the mental ego to see through this incredible validation you get in your chart that it's actually okay to listen to your gut or your spleen or your solar plexus, etc. So the nuance I would say, Lisa, is that yes, when you ask a pure generator who's not emotionally defined, how do you feel? They just go straight to the gut and they feel the or the The emotional generator, you're going to ask them in the moment. Then 20 minutes later, you're going to ask them again in the moment. And then maybe the next day you ask them again in the moment, because they're going to feel the yes, the no, the maybe. So the difference is you kind of have to stretch it out like an accordion when you're an emotionally defined generator, meaning the solar plexus is defined, so that you can explore all the things that the wave brings to your attention. And then you get to just a very dry place without any nervousness. Then you can get the answer of how you feel.
I don't even have to say nothing. Michelle, you are off the chain with these explanations.
Oh, thank you.
That was so amazing. And you know, just to add a little bit on to it, because that's all I gotta do, is when you're emotional, the thing about it is simply you are constantly asking yourself, how do you feel? Like Michelle said, emotional beings are on a wave. Before you understand, before your actual yes or no actually is a real yes or no, you will go through you'll go through 1,000 yeses and 1,000 nos. And the emotional system, it brings you the why. It lets you know why you should say yes or why you should say no. And one morning when you wake up, when you're clear and dry, is what I always say. You're waiting until you're clear and dry. And that's when you feel literally the yes or no. And that clear and dry feeling has zero nervousness. And that was something that was deep because I never added the nervous part to the explanation. When you feel no nerves behind it, it is definitely a good sign that, okay, this is a real yes, you know. And also for emotional beings, 9 times out of 10, we won't get a yes or a no in the moment.
Mhm.
Never. Like literally, someone can show up with $1 billion at your door and you cannot say yes right away. If you do, you won't know what type of contract you may get yourself signed up into by saying yes right away as a generator without waiting. So I can easily find the generators who are not operating in their proper way because they had some kind of good type of opportunity come their way and they immediately said yes to it. And now they are stuck. Like most unhappy generators are stuck and unhappy simply because the opportunity was amazing at first, but they didn't wait out that emotional wave of feeling, of constantly asking themselves, how do they feel over and over until they got clear and dry.
Right. And so the advantage, if you're just a pure gut generator, is that you can have your answer in the moment, but the disadvantage is you don't know why it's your answer. So honoring the emotional wave, it gives you a very strong answer in the end, because not only do you know if it's yes or no, you also know why. Whereas
Yes.
the unemotional generator who's just going off the gut, I can tell you in the now moment, no, I'm not going to the party. But then I'm at a slight disadvantage in the sense that if someone's mental ego comes in with all this lovely logic, I can get pulled into that because I don't actually know why it's a no. I can't mentally explain to you why, right? Similarly, though, the emotional person can be, well, also the person, the generator with the undefined solar plexus can also get emotionally manipulated, right? And convinced to make a different answer.
Mhm.
When you're emotional and you honor that, it kind of creates this, you kind of force a space before you make a decision. So once you come to that clear decision, you also know why, and it's harder to dissuade you, if
Yeah.
that's the word.
Yes.
Okay, so Lisa says, makes sense. And Amy says, I like that. No nervousness. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So we're going to jump to the next one. We're going to jump to manifesting generators.
Yes.
We could start there.
This one?
Yeah, let's start there.
All right. Manifesting generators, y'all. Are you ready?
Ding, ding, ding.
Which mythical creature are you? Boom. Oh,
So we chose the werewolves.
fierce.
If we were just going to do so one of the things I had proposed was actually the Incredible Hulk, but that's technically, what was your objection? It's not a mythical creature because it's just a human that turns into a.
Yeah, that's just going wild.
But
Well,
that
no,
kind of,
what? It's a human that's heart activated, one.
but the key was don't make him angry. You wouldn't like him when he's angry.
Yeah, so the
This is
side
the
character can be
spirit.
Hulk.
Right. This is the spirit of the manifesting generator, kind of thinking of Incredible Hulk. But because we want purely mythical creatures, we chose the werewolf. So what happens with the werewolf? What happens with the manifesting generator? We can take frustration to a certain point, and then when that full moon hits, either literally or metaphorically, we go ape, S-H-I-T. We lose it. If anyone has been around a manifesting generator whose frustration has reached the tipping point and they've moved into anger, you know what I'm talking about. And it will destroy the whole party. It will bring the energy of the whole house down, right? So again, when we're talking about generators being selfish, manifesting generators, be selfish, because if we say yes to something that's wrong for us, not only will we suffer, but everyone around us is going to suffer. Why? Because not only do we have the generator aura that's enveloping, but we also have that manifester aspect of our aura that's repelling. So if we're frustrated and angry and we're in a situation that does not feel good to us, we can't stop it from affecting other people. So by being selfish and doing what feels good for you as a manifesting generator, you're actually also being generous because you're preventing other people from having to deal with your werewolf side.
Yes, yes. And this is just so the manifesting generator part was it was so deep when we came to that, when we came to the werewolf metaphor, because like generators, you can see the similarity with the hair, right? You got all of the hair and all of that. So you have the earthy, you got the earthy connection. I feel like hair is the sign of an earthy connection. Baldness is a sign of a mental connection.
Mm-hmm.
So the Buddha path, this is why you always see the Buddha people with the bald heads, right? People that are more embodied into the sensual nature of their spiritual energy, they have a lot more hair. They have their Mantak Chia, right? The multidimensional sex guru.
Mm-hmm.
Dude got a head full of hair, whole lot of hair. I know he's a manifesting generator. Ain't no other way. So, because he just got a lot of energy. But when you look at the manifesting generator, the werewolf, you can see this highly, highly energetic being. And they're known for super strength, like strength, super speed. And super speed is important because the actual shadow aspect to the manifesting, or the actual, I ain't gonna say shadow, one of the main qualities of the manifesting generator is efficiency. Mm-hmm. Is how fast that it can kind of get things done. So when you're talking about werewolves, you're talking about strength and speed, which equals efficiency. So this is how it's in alignment with manifesting generators being these efficient machine, or these efficient beings that has to watch out for skipping steps. Because the manifestor, he goes from being a human into this raging animal, right? With nothing in between, no skipping every step in between, just going straight from regular human, regular generating, feeling like you're normal, about to build something, and then the full moon comes out, and then now the beast activates, right? And then all of this power activates, and you want to howl and you want to express. The howling and the expressing part is the manifesting part. The manifesting part of the manifesting generator is the expressive part that wants to inform, that needs to inform the reality. That's called howling, right? So manifesting generators, your strategy is to inform the reality and then wait to respond.
It kind of goes both ways, because you're waiting to respond, and then you kind of have to inform as you go into the response. Because once we get the 2 green lights as a manifesting generator, we switch into manifestor mode.
Yeah, you turn into straight manifestor.
So the tricky thing for us is that we are both generators, but also manifestors who have impact on others, right? So we have to be honoring both of those things. So in certain ways, it's one of the trickiest aura types because it's this dual nature.
It is the trickiest.
Waiting to respond like a generator. And then once you get the two yeses internally, then you go without obstacles. But unlike a manifestor, when you start going, it's with longevity. The manifestor does a burst and then it's over for the day. When we start moving as manifesting generators, we could go all week long before we stop, potentially, right? So part of the reason that Source has this beautiful grace of these 2 roadblocks before we move into manifestor mode is that once we move into manifestor mode, If it's the wrong contract, we're still generators and can run into the same problem that the pure generator runs into, which is getting trapped and enslaved and not being able to jump off the train once we say yes, right? So we have this double check-in required before we sign the contract to prevent us from getting in a bad contract, because when we get stuck in a bad contract, it has a lot of ramifications and implications and affects a lot of people because we have access to so much sustainable energy.
Yes, and this is like you say with manifestors have impact. So you add that impact with that magnetism, and oh my goodness, you can impact large areas, right, with your energy. But also, I like this metaphor of the manifesting generator being the werewolf, because also it's almost like a lone wolf.
Mhm,
Every time you see, most of the times when you see the werewolf, they're kind of by themselves.
mhm.
And the manifesting generator can feel literally by themselves within the generator clan, because you're a generator like everybody else, but you are way different.
Well, the manifesting generator is a specialist.
Yes.
That's what makes us different from the pure generator. The pure generator is slightly less differentiated because it's just a pure feminine aura. And the feminine is kind of this connection to the all, whereas the masculine is the differentiation. And we need both. One is not good and one is bad. We need both in equilibrium and in authenticity, right? So as a manifesting generator, you are here to work in groups, but it's not going to be as smooth as the way it is for a pure generator working in groups. You won't fall in quite as easily because as a manifesting generator, it has to be a more specific group. Generators, you have a little more room for it to be a little bit more amorphous, a little bit less specific, because a bunch of generators together, again, as we stated earlier, there's no ruffling of feathers. You just can be like peas in a pod. Manifesting generator, it has to be more specific because that need for efficiency and that drive for that efficiency. And if you find yourself in a contract and it's not efficient or it's not in alignment with what satisfies you, that masculine manifestor side gets activated and it's going to put pressure on the people around you so that you find a way to eject yourself from the situation.
Yes.
And if you're really in the not self and you don't know how to handle that, you will feel like a werewolf to other people. This is why manifesting generators probably even, I don't know, maybe I won't agree with what I'm about to say. Potentially even more than manifestors need rage rooms. I don't know if you've heard of these rage rooms where you can go and release anger and like destroy things in a contained space where you won't harm others and you won't impact others in a negative way.
I mean, look at the image.
Yeah.
This being needs a rage room.
Yes.
Right? Like you need a rage forest. Really, that's probably why you don't agree with it, because you don't need a rage room, you need a rage forest.
Yes.
Because the energy is so massive with the manifesting generator that it needs needs a lot of room. So you can't be a manifesting generator in a small house.
Tiny homes are not for you, manifesting
don't play that
generators.
game.
It's not because you're selfish or you don't understand being eco-friendly. Your aura is too big for a tiny home.
You will break everything in that house. Like stuff will start breaking apart. Like the foundation of the dang on tiny house, like everything. You'll be spending so much money in upkeep.
I remember, do you remember this when we were living up in the mountains? This is manifesting generator energy. I picked up a mug, just took it out of the cupboard. I was holding it as a normal human does by the handle, and it broke in my hand. Okay, this is the kind of explosive energy we have access to, but unlike the pure manifestors, it's sustainable. So you can break mugs for 3 hours straight, whereas the manifestor will just break some mugs, it'll be expressed, it'll be over, they'll move on. So both for manifesting generators and manifestors, keep in mind, if you're feeling the anger arise, get outside, get outdoors. Your aura needs to be outdoors. Get outdoors every single day. Everyone really that's healthy, but particularly these types, because that manifestor aspect, it's repelling. So it's going to start to push against the walls. And not only are you going to feel repressed, but the people around you feel that pressure pushing on them
To do things that they may not want to do.
and it doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
It's not because you're bad. Being a manifesting generator or manifestor isn't bad, just like the masculine isn't bad. But we've got to understand and honor what this energy is and how it operates. So really what we want to support manifesting generators in is to not get to this point where you're raging like this poor wolf here, right?
And also just understand that you've actually made it to the point where you can transform. Transformation in itself is huge. Like this being went from a physical human being to this half human, half animal, half humanistic type thing. Like that takes tremendous amounts of energy
Yeah.
to be able to transform your physicality like that. So manifesting generators are highly emotional individuals. Your emotions, that is your power, right? That's like your hidden secret power, is that you can tap into the emotional body. And I've heard stories about people who tapped into their emotional body and have performed miracles. So miracle healing and miracle regeneration and things like that comes with the werewolf. This is a magical energy. It could be a hurt human being and then transform itself into a fully healthy, vibrant, bustling, just ready to go wolf, right? The energy of the wolf is the messenger. Also, the energy of the wolf can be a dreamer. Manifestors are very magical people because they can make dreams totally come true. These are the only people, like kind of the only people who can, they can really think thoughts and move their body, and the world starts just moving. It starts shape shifting around their thoughts, and then next thing you know, it just works out. But they have to go through a whole lot of rejection first. But we ain't gonna get on there. We're gonna get on that next. But
Well, one more thing about that, and then I want to get to your question. So manifesting generators, also remember, we are here to do lots of things. We are the ultimate doers. Okay, I know they say that manifestors are the doers and generators are the responders. Look, again, this is why we stated, this is not about dogma. This is not about what's in the Human Design Bible. Kayvon and I are talking from seeing, well, you've probably seen thousands of charts.
oh yes,
I've seen, I mean, at least 1,000 charts. We are observing the behavior. In this case, we're watching me, and I've lived this life all this time, right? Manifesting generators, we're here to do lots of stuff. We're here to be active. We're going to get our hands in lots of things. Not all of it's going to work, and that's okay. So don't feel ashamed that you're doing, as long as you're honoring your process of respecting whether you're getting a green light or red light. But if somebody's telling you to sit still, like this is the other issue in school, manifesting generators, similar to manifestors, we have trouble sitting still all day, but you're told you have ADHD if you don't sit still all day. Cut all those programs out. It's nonsense. We're not designed to sit still. We're not designed to be mentally in theory all the time. Now, maybe you have a lot of fourth lines in your chart and your manifesting generator. You can love the mental stuff. Maybe you're defined in the mind and crown. Okay, so there's nuances here. Remember, we're talking about generalizations at aura types. There's a trillion ways to be a manifesting generator, and some of them, because of certain activations, will be more mental. But our energetic body needs to move. It needs to be active, or we will implode and become sick, physically sick. So we really want to respect that, again, so we don't end up looking like my friend here in the picture. Yeah. So Maya had a question. Our emotions are superpower, and she's a manifesting generator. Our emotions are superpower, even if we are emotionally undefined.
Oh, good question. And yes, emotions, just to let everybody know, emotions are always going to be a superpower, because the emotions, they're the last authority. They're the final authority.
Yeah, if you have a defined solar plexus, it doesn't matter what else is defined in your chart. The solar plexus will be your authority. It literally trumps every other center in the chart.
Yes. So tapping into the emotional body for everyone, it will feel like an emotional power. Like we have someone in our community here in Colorado Springs who taps into his emotional body, and he has made blood. Somebody got in an accident real quick. Someone got in an accident on a road, and this is an older guy, elder in our community. He got out of his, jumped out of his car. The guy was bleeding from his head, literally about to die. Tapped into his emotional body and reversed the blood back into the guy's body, and the guy lived. And this is just one story of a miracle that this guy has performed. He just performed a miracle on himself a couple of weeks ago.
He's a manifesting generator.
And he's a manifesting generator. And he talks about, I've been kind of picking, I've been slowly watching him, because I noticed that every one of his miracle stories, they all are grounded in him talking about his emotional body first. And how when he was just feeling something for somebody who's on their deathbed and something, he just put his hands on them, and then he started to regrow their organs. And work with someone over a month straight, a month and some change. And within that time of putting his hands on the person every day, just tapping into the love body, his emotional body, tapping into that, and feeling, not in his mind saying he want the person to be healed, but feeling that this person is healed, feeling how it feels to be in joy of having somebody being healed from your hands, right? This is a way to tap into our emotional body. And him doing that totally regenerated the person, kidneys, liver, all of this stuff that was jacked up in the person. And whoever it is, they're still walking around to this day. And he's done more than, at least he said, at least a dozen of them, dozen miracles that are on Jesus level, biblical level miracles via the emotional body. So this is how I see manifesting generators, as people that powerful, right? So the umbrella underneath that is huge, right? The emotional body, I didn't even know that the emotional body can do so much, right? But now I know. And for manifesting generators, I feel like that's a part of your homework, is learning as much as you can about emotions, which is literally energy in motion. But if you're undefined, you're feeling the emotions of others, and it makes you an empath, but also, Maya, it makes, because you're undefined emotions, you actually have your emotional center amplified ×2.
Yes.
So you can add about 300 more pounds to this image.
Yeah.
And that will be how your emotional body is.
But it's not sustainable.
But it's not, yeah, but
in the same way.
It's not sustainable in the same way, but it's loud.
It's huge.
It's huge. It can really roar, but sustainable, it can be sustainable in the sense that if you are around someone who is very high and happy and positive in their emotions, your emotional center can get stuck in happy, positive, high vibrating emotions. The only negative part to that, remember, is if you polarize to one side, is that you won't see contrast easily. And your energy field can be taken advantage of easily.
Well, and also if you really, really tune in, if you're undefined in the solar plexus, you're around a defined solar plexus who's in the manic type of happiness, if you really pay attention to how you feel, it doesn't really feel good. Just like if they're in the low pain part of their emotional wave, that doesn't feel good. But the sort of manic super high, it doesn't feel good either, because it creates a pressure on your undefined solar plexus. So remember, the solar plexus is a motor, and it is the motor that trumps everything else on the chart. So I'm going to give you the negative example of it. So I'm a manifesting generator, undefined solar plexus, and I don't know if you'll remember this, Kayvon. I got super triggered many years ago. I did a ritual, and I was experiencing a lot of anger and frustration. I went out in the car, my car popped a flat tire, and suddenly, out of nowhere, it had not been reported on the weather, A huge storm hit Chicago. That's where we were living at the time. It took down trees. There was power outages. We went over to get the tire fixed, and some guy was in the place we're in talking about how his truck had just somehow miraculously, the emergency brake released itself. The truck went down the street on its own and crashed into a wall. The whole city was in this crazy whirlwind, like a tornado had hit, because of the ritual I did in that emotionally unstable place.
Dang, I totally forgot about that.
I will never forget that, because I knew as it was coming up, I felt the energetic signature and I knew it was my fault. So learn from my mistakes with all these threes in my chart. Let me be the one to F up and come and report to everybody else. Don't do the rituals when you're in a funky emotional state. Channel that emotional energy for something good and powerful that feels good. When you're in the negative, now, sometimes, however, if it's like an emergency situation or there's like a predatory energy that you've got to protect yourself from, go ahead and do what I did. Yeah, Amy says, go to your rage room, because I want to speak about this before we go to the next.
Oh, I was looking for the other image. I couldn't see it down there.
So,
But
you want to say something else?
no. I
Okay.
just I don't want to go too.
Yeah, I understand. We got only one left because this is important. So back to the Twilight theme, right? In Twilight, they don't import Wookiees to deal with the negative vampires. Who does deal with the vampires? The werewolves. So manifesting generators, I feel like we're in a unique position in terms of the warrior spirit to kind of be able to go toe to toe with any of the other types, because purely energetically, I know that manifestors are considered the dominant ones in the energetic hierarchy because they initiate stuff. But my experience in life is that nobody can overpower a manifesting generator.
That's awake.
Yes, I don't care if you're a manifestor. I don't care who you are. I don't care what kind of sorcery powers you have. A manifesting generator who's awake is unstoppable and is actually at the top of the energetic food chain, because we can manifest like manifestors after we behave as generators first. But once that second green light kicks in and we go into manifestor mode, we can literally topple an entire village. Like, you can't stop. It's like a bullet train, you know, those speed trains in Japan. Cheryl says, this feels good to all my cells. And this is a real thing. So manifesting generators, we got to be aware of this kind of power we have. And unlike our pure generator brothers and sisters, who that purely feminine aura has a vulnerability in contracts. A generator, for example, in an abusive relationship, it's much tougher for them to get out of the contract than it is for a manifesting generator. We can jump off the proverbial train. Now, we'll still get dusty. We might break some limbs, but we can jump off the train and survive. A pure generator, now the train is a metaphor for the contract, right? A pure generator jumping off the train can actually die.
Yep.
Okay, so manifesting generators, manifestors as well. Please don't disrespect pure generators and expect them to be like you. I remember years ago, before I knew human design, I was sitting between two of my yoga students, one on the left, a pure manifestor, one on the right, a pure generator. Both of them were dancers, artists, and performers. The generator on my right was talking about her confusion and frustration about not being able to get her art out there, not being able to initiate performances. And the pure manifestor on my right, on my left, said, why don't you just do it? And she said it with judgment and disdain. It was innocent, however, because she got the same programming everybody got. Everyone's human, we're all equal. If this person can do it, it means everybody can do it, which is not the case. She's a pure manifestor who can decide when she's inspired to do a performance and it will happen. Whereas the pure generator on my right has to wait for a situation to come up that she responds to before she can do her performance. But this manifester innocently was judging and having disdain for this pure generator, which is the same as the masculine having disdain for the feminine, right? And at the
Mhm.
same time, we don't have disdain for the manifestors. We're going to talk about them next. We want to respect everybody, but please respect the limitation of the generator and their vulnerability in getting stuck in contracts. And let's all help all generators respect their process so they don't get in these messed up contracts. Otherwise, us manifesting generators have to come in and go into warrior mode and start cutting heads off. We don't really want to do that. Manifesting generators are here for satisfaction and peace.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I love peacefulness. I don't want to be fighting. I don't want to have to go on the negative side. I don't want to be causing storms in cities that are toppling over electric poles and making people's trucks drive off on their own and crash into walls. I don't want to do that. So let's all just really respect the differences and not judge others because they can't operate the way another aura type does. And
Yes.
Lila says, yes, this really speaks to me beyond the pure generator behavior. I wish I had known these things before. I had known these things before. Yes, don't we all? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I wish I knew this as a child. Okay,
Yes,
any
so-
other questions? And then we got to get on to the last manifester. And amazing, our manifester, Raven, is still here. So impressed.
So impressed. Thank you for
Thank
staying
you for
on.
your patience, manifestors. So, all right.
All righty,
Dun,
man.
dun.
What is the manifester? Who can the manifester be?
Raven says, hey, finally.
Right? I know you're
Mhm.
burning up over there. All right, so the manifester. Dun dun dun.
The dragon.
Dragon. Unleash the dragon.
Amy's cheering. Okay, dragons.
The dragon. So wait, I gotta understand something about these. I got a special thing with dragon beings. This wand right here has dragon claws on it. I mean, well,
You
this
might not be able to
scepter.
see. Do you want to stop the show?
Let me see real fast. I don't know if you can see the little dangling.
Yeah, right here.
These are dragon claws, and the dragon is my counterbalance in my lunar calendar energy, which strengthens me. So I have a special little extra love for my manifestors because they strengthen me through triggering me tremendously. No, I'm just playing.
But that's a real thing. So should we start there? About the relationship between projectors and manifestors. Why do y'all trigger each other?
Between the dragon and the genie?
Yeah.
Well, the dragon and the genie triggers each other simply because both of them have off-the-chain magical abilities. Both of them have very, very potent magical abilities. So this is why the manifestors are considered to be at the top of the, I guess, the energy chain.
Mhm.
The energetic structure is simply because dragons are divine magical beings, period. Dragons, they have what we call access. And this is one of the things that manifestors must understand about themselves so that they can understand their rejection. Because dragons can go anywhere. They're known to go in between the dimensions. So they have the magical ability to pretty much go anywhere. But because of this magical ability to go anywhere, they are not allowed to really do that in a way that it violates people's free will or people's personal sovereign space. So manifestors, they deal with a lot of rejection that most people may not see, because we will see the manifestor doing the thing. We'll see the manifestor making it all the way to the ML. They'll start a multi-level marketing program and make that bad boy all the way up to the top. And we all looking at them like, how in the heck is this happening? It does not work. But then we say it's a scam because it only works for them because they have the ability to literally remove every obstacle. So dragons are high flyers, right? They're not, trees are not in their way, the wind isn't in the way, water isn't in the way, mountains isn't in the way.
Yeah, and they're also not waiting on somebody else.
They're not waiting on anybody to do anything. So
They're just waiting for their instinct, their inspiration, their inner feeling to take action.
yes, and that waiting for the inner feeling to take action is totally tied into everyone else's waiting. And this is what manifestors must know. You guys are still operating with the collective.
Mhm.
So if a generator has to wait for the materials to arrive, the manifestor has to wait until the materials arrive for the generator, and then the generator has to learn how to use the materials. And then once the generator uses the materials and become professional at it, then the generator will be available for the manifestor to show up with an idea that says, hey, let's build this. Or I have this idea to build this. Are you ready? The generator was like, oh my God, yes, I just finished my master's program. If the manifestor does not wait for the inspiration, then the manifestor goes to the generator before the generator even knows how to build the house. So manifestors can get caught up in wanting to do everything just because they can see that they have access to everything. Manifestors have to learn about materialism and how to only take what they need, right? And understand how you'll have a million ideas, but you can't really do all of them because you're not a manifesting generator. So there's a limitation to all of this access. It's like a hidden limitation, but the manifestor mind does not see the limitation. The manifestor mind is like, oh my God, I have ideas every single day and I can do, and they can all potentially happen. But when you're properly waiting for that inspiration, you're quiet most of the time as a manifestor, because you could be thinking about something, you could be working on a deep thought or some creative project that you're trying to kind of just pull down from the ethers so that you can finally see it clearly. So manifestors, you guys have a waiting process as well. Like the dragon, they don't fly around all day long. They literally only move when they have the inspiration or something in their instinct make them move. They're considered to be kind of lazy.
When there's something to do, they take action. And then when there's not something to do, they're chilling.
Laying around, right? But also being in the love, their pure energy frequency. So when it comes to the love aspect of dragons are known in the lore, reality, in dragon lore, to be highly sexual creatures, like supremely sexual, right? Very sexual. They're connected to that reptilian energy, and the reptilian energy is connected to that orgiastic sexual freedom type energy, right? So dragons, they also carry a very passionate energy within them. I mean, meaning manifestors, right? Manifestors, just like dragons, they carry a very high passionate frequency within them. And that high passion is what gives them the energy to persevere and to literally make their goals. It's because you're highly passionate about it. Moving away from just the passionate aspect and going into the side of the dragon, where most of the people are kind of afraid of, and that's the anger. So manifestors, your strategy in life is to inform. And when you don't inform, you literally are inviting anger in, and that anger literally comes out of you in a roar, because it can also build up. And because you are constantly like, so for example, instead of waiting for the creative thought to make a move, you're waiting for opportunities to come your way so that you can just respond to it like a generator, right? Instead of going door to door and knocking on everybody's door in the neighborhood and say, hey, I got this going on, are you interested? This is the manifester. The manifester is the door-to-door salesman. It's a dragon. You can fly to each door, right? You can just fly anywhere you want to go. Not everyone is going to say, yes, come on in, dragon, but at least, you know, you're in alignment with who you are. You had to create a thought, and now you just have to find the barrier, find the opening within the barrier. Manifestors will not stop until they find the opening within the barrier. And this is what makes them have this ability to kind of persevere when no one else will, because they never give up. The enlightened manifestor will never, ever give up on its plan or its goal until it's achieved. The manifestor that gives up on the goals is the manifestor who has been just tricked into believing they're a generator.
Yeah, because they're going to be burned out, burned to a crisp.
Yes, from just behaving like a generator or trying to do sustained work. So dragons, they'll land like this dragon is on top of this rock, right? He's going to be there for a minute, and then he's going to fly off and then go to another vantage point and then another vantage point. So manifestors, you guys are like what I call the trailblazers. You're not like a generator to where you start a company or a job and you're just there forever. You'll start that company or that business. I like to call them franchises. Manifestors are franchise people. You'll start the franchise, right? And then you'll start it up, the business, and then you'll go to the next one, but someone else will be running it.
A generator is going to do the consistent daily work.
Yes.
So dragons are not beasts of burden. They will take on certain burdens, but not in the sense of like chattel, you know. You don't hook up a wagon to a dragon and expect them to carry your wood across the land to the new settlement, right?
Mm-mm.
But
No.
you might call them to come and chop down the trees.
Yes, they'll clear the way
Yeah.
because they're trailblazers, right? Dragons have the ability to find a path where there was none. That ability to travel anywhere, to portal anywhere. That's the ability of that manifestor. Even though you deal with rejection, it's only a rejection until you find the opening. There's always an opening. There's always an opening, always. And that's just what I feel the earth game is giving the manifestor so that you guys wouldn't be overpowered. Because the true manifestor, if you didn't have any barriers around you, you'll literally just do any and everything that you want to do, which will create a crazy world just only filled up with these dragons. And if you're a fire-breathing dragon, it'll be wild. Whenever you get angry, you express fire. So that fire can burn things, right? But also dragons, they don't only express fire, they can also express water, air. They're elemental beings. So they're not even just tied into the energy of fire. And manifestors, this is important for you to know this, is that you're not just tied into the energy of fire itself, even though pure energy is pretty much like fire. But this is the fire of potential, not the fire that burns. The enlightened manifestor is the fire that enlightens, the fire that opens the way for potential.
And it's the fire that dissolves obstacles that are not serving. And Raven says working on it.
Yes.
So it's interesting. One of the descriptions of the Chinese zodiac dragon character or personality is that they are strong and independent figures, but they yearn for support and love.
Yes.
And don't we see that with manifestors?
Yes, totally. They need support because they're not generators. And but people can look at a dragon and you can see, oh my God, look at this magical being flying anywhere they want to fly. They got it together. And then we will reject manifestors because we think that they have it together. And that's not fair for them because now they're going through an extra set of rejection when naturally they wouldn't have gotten that. You know, because people are jealous a lot of the times because of the power of what they have. But what I've learned about doing all of these years of coaching this stuff is just we're all jealous of everybody's thing.
Yeah.
Like everybody is jealous of the next person's powers and abilities, and that's just a natural thing. what I'm noticing is just we like the other. We like to see different things. And we like, oh snap, you know, this dragon is looking at the Chewbacca and it was like, what? Like you can like just climb trees, you can move around, you can run around, you can rest in these others, like you can go inside of caves, you can do all of these things that the dragon can't really do because it's too big, right? The energy can be so big. So manifestors, you guys have a very big aura and you guys impact everything. So if a manifestor shows up, right, we're all having a party and we're all human beings and we're normal and we're regular, right? We're just dancing and partying. A manifestor shows up, literally, it seems as if a dragon just walked into the building and now the entire party is looking at this dragon. And now all of the conversation is about to be about this dragon and we're about to be in the energy of the dragon. So the manifestors, you guys really can fill up the room with your auric energy. And depending on how you feel, depending on where you're at and being comfortable and being at peace, you know, it'll depends on how you affect the crowd around you in a positive or negative way. But the people around you, because they are around you, they also now have the ability to kind of tap into your magic. So the thing about manifestors is when you are around them, you start to gain some of that magic ability of just thinking of a thing, and then the world shape shifts around to that. So the power of the manifestor is the law of action. And the law, and this is a universal law that states that if you have the idea and you have the feeling attached to that idea, all you would need to do is to perform an action to get the ball rolling. And manifestors are beings of action.
And getting the ball rolling. So many Chinese New Year celebrations include a dragon dance. I'm sure many people have seen. Actually, let's go to that just for a moment because this is where
What,
the
you got a Chinese picture?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Right.
I didn't even
So
see it down there.
what do a manifestor do? They initiate, they start the ball rolling. So the new year is the initiation of the new year. And the aim of the dance is to ask for a prosperous new business year from the dragon gods, right? So there's this hope that this manifestor energy will bring this prosperity. So additionally, for the Chinese, dragons symbolize everything male. It's a masculine thing.
And we know that the manifestor in the human design is a pure masculine energy, by the way.
Yeah.
Generators are pure feminine. Projectors are masculine and feminine. Manifesting generators are masculine and feminine.
Right. So a lot of the emperors were considered descendants of dragons, right? So the dragon, the manifestor is also seen as like the what's the Egyptian leader? I'm blanking.
Pharaoh.
The pharaohs, right? So it's this sort of dominant leadership quality. In the zodiac of the dragon, dragon personalities, people born in the year of the dragon, are seen as independent, steadfast. Even the females are often very independent. They might not necessarily be married. They're very goal-oriented, and it's pretty impossible to defeat them, basically. So I just feel like for so many reasons,
That totally fits all of the clients that I've been dealing with. They have been going through the same, what you just described.
Yeah, and also dragons are a symbol of good fortune. So if you're a manifestor and you're operating correctly, there's no obstacles to you being in prosperity. I mean, I can remember being out with Junior one day, and I think he wanted to eat at like Five Guys Burgers. And I had a bunch of stuff in the car that I needed to drop off at Goodwill. So he said he wanted to eat there. I said, okay, Junior, that sounds good. Let me go to Goodwill and drop this off first, and then we'll go eat after everything's done. I turn into the parking lot of the Goodwill. Guess what's next door to the Goodwill? I've never been to this mall before. Five Guys Burgers. It was like he spoke it into the reality. I wasn't planning to go to that one. I was going to drop everything off. Once I'm pulled over, search for a Five Guys. But no, he spoke it out. We moved through space. There was the burger joint.
Boom, law of action.
So the law of action is totally about manifestors. Right.
Totally. Totally.
Yes.
So manifestors, you know, no barriers, but barriers for your own,
Yeah, for your own good.
for your own good.
So let's get to this nuance, because this is something that we find is an actual obstacle for manifestors getting in alignment. This directive to inform before you initiate, that does not mean you are asking permission.
Yes.
It is a courtesy, and again, we understand it's not a naturally respectful aura. It is a courtesy to others, and in the long term, a courtesy to yourself, to separate out who is interested in what you're about to initiate and who is not. It gives people a chance to say, yes, I will go with you on this train ride, or no, the train ride is not for me. If the train ride is not for them, it's not a rejection of you, nor is it them not granting you permission. It simply means they're not in alignment with what you're about to materialize, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yes.
So that's part of the process of rejection that manifestors have to toughen up to and understand. Rejection is God's protection. If you say, I'm about to initiate this project, and somebody's like, a generator goes, or the Wookiees around you, like, that's just not your team. So go inform somebody else who's going to say, yes, or a reflector who's going to say, this project is different. I want to be your cheerleader. Or a projector who says, I like this invitation. I like what you're doing. I would like to guide this project and help you make it more efficient and more expansive and more prosperous and more peaceful.
Yes, that was such a good example.
And the next thing, Raven's reading my mind, because the next thing I want to talk about, she said, I also learned as a manifestor, informing isn't about telling others what to do.
That is so huge.
Ding, 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 ding.
For all manifestors out there who are going to be watching this is huge, y'all.
Manifestors get confused and they think informing is about telling other people about themselves. You're not a projector, and you weren't invited, even if you were a projector. It is not your job to correct and fix other people as a manifestor. If they are not in alignment and if they're not on board with your project, they are not your business.
Unless you are a healing manifestor and your job is the business of healing and correcting people.
Yeah, of course. If they're hiring you to be their coach and help them remove obstacles, that's a totally different story.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can help them remove their inner obstacles and manifest more smoothly, of course. But what we see is manifestors falling into this habit with their loved ones in non-professional or professional relationships, where they're not being hired as a coach and they're telling other people what's wrong with them, where their blocks are, where their obstacles are, without being asked, without being invited, and it goes really south. It just goes bad.
Yeah, because also manifest, it's just you have to figure out a way how to approach people, right? So you can say, hey, I've been around you all of this time and I've noticed this thing about you. And this is what I'm seeing, right? Now you can inform them about what it is. You can initiate with them and inform them about what you're seeing. But even that is in projector territory. So projectors, we are the ones who always get a pass for helping to clear people out when we are invited. We easily get a pass for that. People will surrender to our knowledge and information because it's about them. It's not my knowledge and information. My knowledge and information is all about you all, right? It's all about generators, manifestors, and reflectors. Manifestors, you're trying to accomplish a goal.
Yes.
That may not have anything to do with the collective.
Your aura is completely goal-oriented.
And it also can be a goal that has to do with the collective. But either way it goes, just informing people first, like, hey, you know, I'm a healer and I'm noticing all of this unhealed energy around me. If you guys need my help, or if you want my help, then this is my website. And, you know, here it is. Now, if you do that, if you see something, right, and you inform after seeing something, then that's you responding. So you can say, hey, I see that people need this and that, but because that's a response, right, you can't have any feeling about it, about people coming to see you. Now, if you go to them and say, hey, I have a webinar that's healing PTSD. I have a webinar where I'm going to talk about psychedelics and how to connect in with the natural nature and how to do rituals. And it's going to be next Thursday. Then the people who have problems and they need that healing, they'll show up to that. Because you're offering, you notice just from seeing stuff of what's happening in the collective. And then you say, okay, I'm going to set up a webinar to deal with this, to open up the gates, right? You can do that, or you can just wait and have some inspiring idea that comes to you. And it may be something that ain't got nothing to do with the collective, but it's super amazing for you. And when you bring it out into the world, it just so happens to heal the collective. So you're manifesting, your expression of your manifesting abilities, right? It can show up in multiple ways, but just be aware of this, of the subtle generator responding things, because it's so easy to respond to things. We watch something on television and then we respond to it. We see something outside of our house and then we respond to it. Dragons, they're not responding to things. They're not waiting to be invited either.
No.
You get the inspiration, and then you go and say what it is that you need to say. Go talk to the person that you, oh, I was inspired. I had a dream about you and I was inspired to come talk to you. And they may agree with you or they may reject you, right? But at the end of the day, you inform them and it goes off of you. Right? It goes off of your chest. You don't have to really hold on to that. And then eventually it's going to transform into you just, and the reason why I'm saying this, because the two, Raven, the 2-4 energy, the 4 is the healer. And it's not necessarily going to just be goal oriented for itself all the time. You may want to do things for the collective and other people. And that's the hardest part, because you have such a big heart and you want to do good things for other people, and then they reject you. So what you do is you have the idea of what you want to do for other people, and then you set up a little workshop and you inform to the world about what you are about to do. No permission needed. You're gonna do this. They show up if they want to. This is the attitude of the dragons, the manifestors.
They show up if they want to experience your impact.
There we go.
Informing before initiating is just a courtesy, because you're going to impact people no matter what. It's giving people the opportunity to stay and be impacted or to get out of your way. Right?
Yes.
So, and Raven says, I love that rejection is God's protection. Been putting more content out on my IG and getting more unfollows than follows. Yeah, none of us is for everybody. Now, manifestors, you can do some of the big group stuff, like if you're involved in coaching and teaching and stuff, because you're knocking the door down. So you're the initiator that can just bring people in the room and expose them. But you're not necessarily the coach that's going to take them through a long, deep process, because that's a generator energy, right? You're the one who breaks it down, introduces them, shows them the big picture, brings them into the realm. But then at the end of that process, you got to go take a rest. You've depleted your energy. It's burst, then rest. Now, I want to mention this also. Remember at the beginning, I said, you may feel like you relate to multiple archetypes here because of what's going on in your dream rave, or say your sidereal human design chart. Well, I happen to know that Raven's dream rave is a projector. So do you see how she's having this little struggle, because she's a manifestor in 3D, but she also has this projector archetype. So she's got a tricky path to walk, because she's got to inform like a manifestor here, but she has this projector capacity through her dream self that has to be invited. And if she uses her projector capacity like a manifestor and informs people about themselves without being invited, there's going to be kickback.
All the time. All the time. So
This is why we invite people to get that dream rave reading, because it will really help.
Yeah, because you'll be behaving, a lot of us are behaving like our sleep selves. You know, when they say, oh, you're asleep and you need to awaken. When you awaken to your human design, manifestor, generator, projector, or reflector, or manifesting generator. When you're asleep, a lot of the times you're out here behaving as your dreaming body self. And a lot of people are out here behaving like reflectors in the reality when you guys are not reflectors. And some people are behaving like projectors when you're not projectors, right? So learning these nuances and honoring your strategy is so important. And even if you don't fully understand your strategy, this is why I do sessions, right? Like you can always sign up and get a human design session. We have our school that we are starting in March, which is Healing the 9 Centers. And it was such a success last year that we feel like this is almost like a permanent structure. You know, it was very successful as far as just the feedback from the people in the class. We keep the classes intimate, like no more than like 12 to 14 people probably. And that creates just a very trusting space for people to really express themselves. And
Well, and just, this is what I like about it. And I feel like this is what we aim to do in all of our coaching. There's so much information available. We are in the information age. Information. If you don't know how to apply that in 3D, what is the use of it? We are helping people actually anchor this in to have real results in 3D. So I just want to quickly say thank you, Amy, for being here. She says, thank you, Kayvon and Michelle, so much. This was fun and incredibly informative. Love, so much love. We love
yes,
you too. Thank you
yes,
so
we
much
love you
for
too,
being
Amy.
here. And yeah, so helpful, not just for us, but relating to everyone. I know people get so much out of your school. I'm so late, I gotta run. We'll catch the end on the replay. Okay, great. Thank you,
Yes.
Amy.
Thank you, Amy, for showing up. We love you.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I want to just come back to Raven again as an example, because she says, I have a lot of projected channels and the right angle cross of penetration. So remember, the projector, they penetrate and then they absorb. So the penetration is the masculine side, the absorption is the feminine side of that aura. So Raven is carrying projected channels and the cross of penetration. So this is another example of why we want people to get personal readings, because we're giving you general information about a manifestor, but here we have a real live example of a manifestor who's also dealing with a lot of projector stuff, who's also a 2-4. So she's got a very unique particular flavor of manifestorism, right? And the only way to really, really understand that, unless you're going to do 12 years of research on your own, is to get a reading from Kayvon. So he can help you understand the particular nuances of your chart. We're giving you umbrellas about these aura types, but even every reflector is going to be different depending on their profile numbers, depending on their dream rave, right? They might be a manifesting generator dream rave and a reflector in this reality. So this is why we really want to encourage you to get those individual readings.
And know that, you know, that this is a process. The human design is deconditioning you from your old not self, the self that brought about the anger, the frustration, the bitterness, and the disappointment. So it's a process, right? Some people I've done a couple sessions with, and it's still, you know, we still have to uncover even more. We're still learning even more. And you know, so I just want you all to just be easy on yourself. But also to know that this is 5th dimensional and beyond information. This is the information for the new age. It's been coming to me for some years now through my meditations and just through other channelers and stuff like that. And what Michelle and I have to offer you guys, it really does open up the game and the perception field for you to experience more of yourself. And this is the agenda of Source. Source wants to experience more of itself. constantly. It's never going to stop that. And the more you experience of yourself, the grander you become. You realize how grand you are, but in a positive way, not in the self-important way to where you think you're better than others. So this is all about respecting ourselves and respecting the planet around us, because we are the planet around us. Everything you see is your reflection, and the reality is working with you. It is working for you, not against you. Contrast is working for you. Evil may be working against you, but
even
evil,
at the end, it's working for you, because we come here to experience evil, get that experience of contrast, so we lose our desire for evil.
yes, good, perfect, well said.
We're going to wrap it up in a minute, but there's one more point I want to make, then we're going to close. And then, yeah, it's important. And then we'll just give a brief description of the courses coming up, because
Okay.
that's part of the thing. So Maya earlier asked about the emotional center and the powers that it brings. So I just want to address something, because there's an emotional manifesting generator I know on Facebook who, when she saw this thing, or I responded to her about manifestors being dragons, she was feeling really strange because she felt like a dragon. When you are emotionally defined, that power, again, as we talked about, the solar plexus trumps everything else on the chart. And anybody, regardless of aura type, can use that emotional motor to manifest things. If you know nothing about human design, you will possibly have come into contact with this information about emotions, feeling into the thing, feeling as though it's already true, having the emotions of victory in order to bring the victory down. Okay.
Yes.
So I want to address this, because anybody who's emotionally defined can feel like they have a dragon. Okay. Dragons, they have an explosive power. They have an impact. The emotional solar plexus has an impact, even if you're not a manifestor or manifesting generator. Okay. So this is another one of those nuances where people may feel like, but I feel like a dragon. Any aura type, when they're on that negative side of their emotional wave, they will feel like a dragon. Kayvon is a projector, but he can feel like a dragon if he taps into that energy, right? I've got an undefined solar plexus, but if I'm in anger and frustration and I'm tapping into like this distorted, really intense emotional field, I can feel like a dragon. Okay, so again, we don't want to be rigid here. This isn't about dogma. Understand that we can all tap into all of these things, but our human design chart is showing us what's consistently accessible for us, and what we can fall back on without burning ourselves out.
Yes, or without compromising our identity, right? Of who we are, who we want to be. Because at the end of the day, what I'm learning is it's about who you are, but also it's about who you want to be, who you want to become.
And also it is as much about who you are not.
Yes.
In order to understand your chart, and this is why we've invited everybody to stay to hear about all the aura types, knowing what you aren't is super clarifying, right?
Yes.
Knowing that I'm not a projector, it's super important. Also knowing that I'm not a pure manifestor is super important, because I got to honor my generator feminine side.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Lisa says she has to go and sleep. This was fantastic. I love you guys. Yes, thank you, Lisa and Maya and Ben, for being here, because it's very late where you are in Europe. Thank you. So last chance for questions, and then we're going to just do a little bit of info about our upcoming classes, and then we're going to close.
I think we were so clear about everything.
We're so clear.
This is why, they don't really have that many questions for real. Like we
Okay. So let's just get into the Healing the Ninth Center Being. So that's the main course that I want to talk about, since it is about human design. The Healing the Ninth Center Being, 9-month course. Each month we focus on one center, starting from the crown and working our way down using the water path down to the root. The format is, the first webinar of the month is human design. So for the crown as the example, what does it mean to have a defined crown? How is that different from an undefined crown? How is that different from a totally open crown? What are the themes of the crown in general? What are those gates in the crown? What are the themes of those gates? What superpowers do they bring if you have them defined? So we go into that in detail so you can understand not only your chart, but the chart of your loved ones, or maybe the not so loved ones who are triggering you, right? So it helps us develop compassion, patience, acceptance, and also just having peace with the fact that in unity consciousness, not everybody's compatible, and that's okay. We don't have to be besties with everybody. Some people are going to get on your nerves because you guys are designed in a way that clashes or repels, and it's okay. It's not because you're not enlightened. It's not because you're not patient enough. You guys are just in lanes that aren't supposed to harmonize, and it's okay. It's okay. The liver cells, where's my liver? Don't have to be in the lung cells region. And my intestine cells are not, and my brain cells, right? And that's okay. It's okay. Right? So just quickly, okay, Crystal said, sorry, I had to join late. But this has been great still. Thank you both. Thanks for being here, Crystal. And you can
Yes,
catch the
thank you.
replay. And then Lila says, thank you so much. Elliot, my 10-year-old son, and I listened to the whole meeting and were mesmerized. Oh, awesome. Thank you for
Yes.
bringing your son. We love it when young people get exposed to information, because this can prevent years of unnecessary therapy and trauma, right?
Yes.
So we want to prevent the trauma before it happens.
Yes, if you can find your lane now,
Yeah.
it helps. And just to
Less
let you
wear
know,
and tear on your body, mind, and soul.
yes, just to let you know, I've done a session for a parent with a 7-year-old. The past couple of weeks, we did her 7-year-old, we did her maybe I think a 13-year-old.
Well, you've done
I've done 7, 13,
2-year-olds?
2 years, but
You've
now
done newborns.
now the young children, the young children, of course, we would do it where the child could sit there if they want to listen to some of the basic stuff like strategy and authority, definitely. But I also will do it where, the child can just go off and I'm just giving the parent, because as parents, it's important for you to understand your children. I mean, to the most details that you can possibly learn about them, and especially when it comes to their diet. This human design, we can look at their charts and we can see how they're supposed to eat. And with me, I suffered a lot from my parents not knowing about my diet or respecting my unique diet. And I used to have to eat dinner at nighttime. I was always eating my dinner at night. When I went to stay with my grandma, she would always make me eat dinner like 3:30 in the afternoon. I could not understand this to save my life, but my grandma somehow knew my inner authority. She knew that I had a 6th brain and that I need to eat during the daytime. When I went with my actual mom, I would eat dinner at night and all type of times. And she would never tell me not to eat things at night. She never disciplined me on that. And I created a bad habit of eating at night and not being able to digest my food. And now it's finally hitting me.
Meanwhile, the other 6th brain type, the artificial light, is supposed to eat at night. So you hear all this stuff. I remember Oprah being like, don't eat after 6 p.m. if you want to lose weight. But if you're the artificial light 6th brain, you don't digest well unless it's nighttime. And we believe my mom has that type. Growing up, it was always about going out to dinner. We never went out to brunch as a family, ever. My mom's not a daytime eater. She was never, I don't even remember her really making breakfast. Breakfast was like, we would make some bagels with Vegemite. My mom's Australian, but we made it ourselves. It was never a big meal, right? She's not a daytime eater. So this homogenized the family. It's not her fault. She didn't know. But now she's even learning in her older years, like how much of a natural nighttime eater she is, no appetite during the day. So we're trying to encourage her to not pathologize that and to just honor it and go with it. So yes, all of those things. So again, yet another reason to join the Healing the Nine-Centered Being, because we systematically are going through the system. So you're going to get a deep dive into human design, center by center. After the first webinar of the month, where we go into the details of the center, then you have 2 weeks to self-observe. Okay, I've got a totally open crown. I'm in this big crowded room. I'm getting bombarded with ideas. Am I running, chasing inspiration only to find myself waking up a few days later? Like, why did I go down this rabbit hole? I don't actually really care about this. This is really somebody else's idea and I don't care, right? I need to learn how to filter the inspiration and honor my gut before I decide to bring that idea into the physical realm, right? Because the pressure of the crown seeks to get the energetic body to embody its inspiration ideas, right? It
Yes.
puts pressure. Now, if you have a defined crown, you carry this pressure inside you all the time. You are an idea inspiration generating machine that never turns off. So are you beating yourself up because you're in meditation and you can't turn off that idea generator? You're not designed to turn it off. So your meditation may be more about labeling, separating, creating space, and then also going through the process. Am I really interested in this idea? Does this really feel like something I want to spend my physical energy on, right?
Can you see yourself expanding? Do I feel myself expanding?
Mhm.
So we're all about ascension. This
Mhm.
whole process is so that you guys can be prepared to become magical beings, a lot more than who you were yesterday.
Mhm.
Even today, who all watch our show today, right? Our show, I don't know why I keep calling these shows, but who's watching our webinar today, you guys are not going to be the same tomorrow.
No,
You're now expanded.
I'm not going to be the same tomorrow.
I'm not going to be, definitely. So we're now, we expand all the time, right? And it's okay to change and to be different and to expand. And we're all about respect. I feel like the respect thing is so deep because we're not respecting ourselves. This is why we don't have the dream life that we feel we deserve. It's literally respect. Once you get into alignment with who you are and respect your entire thousands of incarnation years of a process that you've been going through, you guys created your human designs on purpose. This wasn't random.
Mhm.
Your son, he knew exactly what he wanted. He knew exactly what he wanted to be, and he hoped and prayed that his mom was going to figure this out and is going to recognize him quickly. That way you don't force him to be like how I was because I'm a black, athletic black man in the hood. So automatically I have to go play sports.
Meanwhile, he was getting stomach aches from being overworked and dehydrated,
Could barely go to practice.
getting
I was,
shamed because he wouldn't work out like the other generators, despite the fact that he was getting first place in every meet with his long jumps.
won everything, but I could not practice and keep up with the generators at all. I could not. I was the worst practice goer, worst job haver. I would miss so many days at work and jobs and school. I would be sick out of nowhere because I wasn't respecting my body.
Yeah, projectors are just not here for energetic consistency, and that's okay because by not doing that, they can focus on this mental work that a lot of us don't want to do. I don't want to sit and be mental all day long. I'm so grateful that Kayvon will handle that. He's mastered these Rife machines. Now I don't have to do that, but I'm benefiting directly from that. In the same way he benefits from me using my physical energy to cook meals or go grocery shopping, right? Mundane, plain
And a
stuff.
whole bunch of other stuff.
So
I just wanted to say something. I really appreciate that because Elliot is a projector and I'm a manifesting generator. So we have a similar, I mean, I know we have different charts and everything, and I'm a single mom, so it's just us two. So
okay.
we really are working, it sounds like, with a very similar situation in some ways. Thank you.
Yes, it's so true. And I'm glad you brought that up because a projector is born a projector. You don't become a projector when you're 21. All the issues projectors face start from the beginning. And you may notice parents of projectors are going to laugh. Projector children will start to guide the adults around them because that's what they naturally do. So just as manifestor children have to be respectfully and gently taught about respect, also through example, projector children have to be taught about waiting for the invitation because their insights can be just as cutting as penetrating and penetrating even though they're children.
Yeah, we cannot be allowed to get away with guiding our parents.
You still
As
have to be
children.
a parent.
You still have to be a parent to
Yeah.
us, to the projectors, but also just enforce waiting to be invited, and then giving the example of, okay, this happened because you didn't wait.
Mhm.
If you would have waited, then the person would have been able to deal with the energy. They would have had time to kind of settle their energy down, and then they'll be able to come and deal with the projectors. So as a child, I didn't know how to, I had a hard time making friends because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. You know, I didn't know how to wait for the invitation. I didn't know how to look for cues from other children and things like that. But I learned, I learned because I have the gate of approach. So some of us projectors are different. I don't know what his chart is and everything like that, but it will be interesting.
Well, and just as manifestors have impact in the world around them, projectors have internal impact. So I feel like that's important for projectors to know. Anybody who's been around manifestors can feel the impact they have. If a manifestor walks in your house, you're going to feel it. Same with a manifesting generator. You can feel the energy shift. But if a projector penetrates you, particularly with their words and guidance, there's going to be an impact internally.
You'll be thinking about it all the time.
Yes.
You'll be on your mind.
Because they're going to get in there and be like tweaking stuff. And it can be triggering if you're not ready. But if you're ready, like the people who sign up for Kayvon's coaching, if they're ready, if they're open, if they're willing to really self-reflect, and if they're willing to go through the humbling work of self-correction, then it is like the gift of a genie.
Yes, he is a little genie.
Yes.
He can make magic.
I literally had a reading with you 5 years ago, one reading, and it has impacted me so strongly for 5 years. That one reading that I could afford, like, it's had so many jewels that I've returned to again and again. So I hear you on that one.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that testimony.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and I appreciate you saying that, because I have gate 26. If you know about gate 26, gate 26 is the marketer, but it has to be an integrity. So, and that's very important to me. Both of my moons are fifth lines. I have a 5 in my brain. The 5 is all about integrity and reputation. So when I'm advertising things, first of all, we don't advertise any medicine unless we take it ourselves first. Right? So you can go to a white coat doctor and they can tell you to do something that they don't do themselves. We don't do that. Anything that we're sharing with coaches, we test it on ourselves first so that we can be in integrity. And additionally, the way that we're in integrity is we don't give a one size fits all. We're not asking people to come and join a homogenized movement and just get on board. And we don't really care how you feel about things. We just want you to join our movement and build us up. No. Our way of being in integrity is we coach the individual in front of us. And if something we're doing isn't working for you, then we find out how to tweak it to work for you. We don't shame you because you can't do things the way we do. So Kayvon is not going to shame non-projectors for not being able to sit in focus for 8 hours a day being mental.
Exactly.
Any more than we're not going to shame a projector because they're not out there doing the 5-mile hike with the generators, right? So say, and this is on so many levels, you know, some people are lone wolves. Some people are group people. They get called codependent. If you're a split definition, if you're a 4, if you're a generator, you're here for groups. You're not here to be alone. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then if you have someone like me, single definition, manifesting generator, first line in my brain, I need a lot of alone time. But it's not because there's something wrong with me. That's just the lane that I'm in. But when I have that alone time, then I can come back in the group, but then I have to focus on my specialization, right? Everyone's different. So we're here to honor that. So to bring it back, second webinar of the month in Healing the Nine-Centered Being, we come together as a group and everybody shares and reflects on what they observed, right? So starting with the crown, I would share, you know, I noticed when I was in the grocery store, I started picking up these other ideas. So I started going to the grocery store with a hat on and I felt so much more secure. I felt like it was more protected and it helped me to be more conscious about the filtering. When I'm online, I noticed that I can get pulled into rabbit holes on Facebook At the end of the day, it doesn't bring satisfaction or peace. And I have to filter that and instead feel the inspirations that my gut says yes to, which more often than not involve being in nature, not being so mental, enjoying sensual, physical energy realities, right? So I had to really learn the susceptibility of my open crown to get caught up in stuff that actually doesn't matter to me, right? Then as a group, we do a shamanic healing ceremony to release any of the gunk, the not self stuff, the extreme distortions that we've been carrying, sometimes from childhood, right? So you're never going to have the same design as your parents, siblings, grandparents. There's going to be differences. So as a child, you can take on the conditioning of these other people in your family and be running energy that's backwards to who and what you are. So we take that and we offer it into the shamanic healing. We use the elements to release stuff. So you're pulling all the sticky stuff off, releasing all the negative charge around it. And it's okay to release it because you've already been doing that. You've mastered the negative, not self side. You got your PhD there, right? On the other side of that ceremony, you're now in 0 point free will. And in most cases, it's the first time you've ever been there because we've been in condition not self from babies, from the womb.
Yes.
So now on the other side of the ceremony, you can call in what you do want. What's going to bring you the peace, success, joy, satisfaction, etc., right? Calling that in, calling in the qualities that you want to take the place of that negative, not self, distorted, static. And I really have to say this so honestly, every single center, Kayvon and I were shocked, number one, at the nuances we didn't even know yet. And Kayvon's been in the game for what, like 12 years. I've been studying for almost 9 years. And the stuff that we still had in us to come out.
Yeah.
And we've been actively doing this and in a partnership, supporting each other doing this the whole almost 9 years we've been together. And even we were still finding stuff and little nooks and crannies and then connections between centers that I had never made before. So by the end of it, along with all of our students, we felt totally transformed. This is like, you know, when you go to the dentist and get your teeth cleaned, that deep clean, it's like a deep cleaning for your internal house, room by room by room. But we're doing it in a slow, steady way so you're not totally destabilized. But we had the most incredible shifts and results people felt and experienced in real time, in real life. Not just, oh, I have some new ideas, but like I was homeless and now I have a home with 5 acres around it. You know, I didn't know where I was going to work. And now I have a job in a situation that is like really in alignment with what I care about and my values. Or on the other side, I had to leave a relationship in a living situation that I was kind of pretending about, but this brought to the surface that I have to be truthful and this relationship isn't for me, right? So we got to be honest about that too, because if you're in a situation that's not for you, this is going to give you the impetus to leave. So we're not going to come in and say, oh, we can make anything and everything work. That's not what this is about. This isn't forcing you to stay in a marriage that's not for you. This is going to give you the energy to perhaps leave a marriage, a job, a living situation, or maybe you need to leave the whole nation that you're in because it's out of alignment with you. So this isn't about everything being perfect and comfortable. And it's important to say that some of the work is uncomfortable, but it is about pulling you out of what's not working and getting you in that smooth lane of what is for you, because your soul came here for some particular, unique, beautiful reason that nobody else before or after can fulfill.
Yes.
And as we said in the first webinar, yes, we are all equally aspects of source. We are all equally loved by source. We are all equally of importance. But equal in the sense of interchangeable and the same, that's a psyop. You know what's interchangeable and the same? Nuts and bolts that you get from the hardware store. They're all the same. If you get the 1 inch or whatever this is, the 1/4 inch, and this one is lost, you go replace it with another one. They're equal. They're literally equal, interchangeable, exchangeable. There is nobody on this planet, nor will there ever be, nor has there ever been your particular design, even if you're an identical twin. the variety of options, because if you just think about every gate in every center has a color, tone, and base behind it, each of which has 6 options. So just do the math. Just one gate alone has so many different iterations and possibilities. So go through every gate, and then there's different aura types, and then there's different profiles. The uniqueness is incredible, and we need you to be you. We need you to be you. If you're a lung cell, we need you to do the lung cell thing and shine. If you're an ankle, we need you to do the ankle thing, right? If you're an eyeball, we need you to do that and not feel ashamed because you're not a kneecap or a spinal cord, right? If you're a sailboat, we want you to be the best sailboat you can be and not feel bad because you're not an 18-wheeler truck.
Yes.
That's what this is about.
Yes. Well said.
So there is a discounted rate currently, and I'm going to extend it for a few more days. If you go on the website, there's a thing on the website with like a little 3 bars. So let me show you. You can see hopefully on there, maybe.
You have to stop. You have to wait. If you
Okay.
show it on the screen, you have to just stop your hand from moving.
Oh,
So-
okay. And then it will adjust.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will. Well, it's not going to show
Oh,
up.
it's
There's
that light.
3
It's
bars.
that extra bright light
Yeah.
we got.
So there's
Oh,
3.
there.
Oh, there you can see right here. 3 bars. Okay. So if you click on that, that's going to give you the option of healing the 9-centered being page. And it's going to go into all the details on that page. And you can register for the course, either paying monthly, or if you want to pay the full 9 months in advance, you get 2 free private sessions, which is like a $300 some value, one with Kayvon and one with myself. If you choose to just pay monthly, you get a discounted rate on private sessions, but you have to purchase those additionally. And we're offering them at $111, which is a significant savings. And all the private sessions are 90 minutes, but it's optional. So we start on March 6th of this year. If you're even just a little bit curious, I really encourage you to go read the description and consider joining, because this is just one of the most effective, powerful structures I've ever experienced. And we are literally the only coaching team on the planet offering these 2 tools in combination, the human design and the shamanic healing with the IFS therapy. This is a way to get yourself in self-leadership in an environment that is super supportive. It's private. Everybody is required to sign a non-disclosure, so your business is not going to be spread outside of the group. The people in the group, especially last year, everybody was super respectful, super supportive, very loving. It felt so good to be in these meetings. And it's such a contrast to the wild, wild west of the general social media world, which is very emotionally unsafe. We create a very safe space of unconditional love and non-judgment. And you can bring, even if you have funky stuff that you need to bring out, you can bring it to the table and be heard and supported to move through it and integrate it.
Yes.
So yeah, Rebecca says, this is good. I can't wait to get to the recording. So glad that you were able to pop on, Rebecca. So yeah, the healing the 9-centered being, if you're thinking about it, just imagine yourself a year from now and stuff that you never thought you could heal or move through is done.
I'm telling y'all, this is big. This is a Yamalet was in our class. And she knows, like, the energy that that was going on every webinar. It was amazing, y'all. It was amazing. Like, you know, I'm excited to do this again.
Yeah, and I feel like I can vouch for it because I don't even feel like this is an ego thing about us. We're just the ones bringing the tools. And ultimately, it's about these tools that just really work.
Yeah.
And we've dedicated and refined our work so that we can share the tools with you, but it's not even about us. We're not trying to build a cult where you worship us. And no, this is about you learning to use these tools for you and applying them to the people that you work with. So there's more compassion, more understanding, more patience, more forgiveness.
Yes.
So go to the website. If you have any questions, email activationcoaching@gmail.com. The free consultations are booking out in March right now. So if you're on the fence and you have a question, email me and I will find a way to get you a consultation before March. And if you email me in the next 48 hours, I will honor that discounted rate, because the price is going to go up in February. And then in March, it's going to go all the way up to full price, which is $333 a month. And I really want to say, I've been a student in a lot of coaching programs, and we charge probably 20% of what we could be charging. There's people charging as much as us that are giving 10% of what we give. They're giving very generalized, homogenized information. No shade to them, but it's just very different. What we are offering is a highly specialized, refined coaching program that is very loving. We do the work and we hold each other accountable all the time. So it's not going to be one of these situations where the coaches really don't know how to deal with you, so they make you the problem, or the coaches don't understand how to create a safe emotional container, or the coaching group is so big that there isn't sufficient admin to actually coach you. And it's just like being thrown to the wolves where the students are coaching each other and none of them know what they're talking about. We don't give you any of that nonsense. This is very refined. This is our life. This isn't a hobby. This is what we do full time. And the reason that we offer it at such a low price is we really want people to join, because it doesn't matter what financial strata you're in. This applies to everybody. And we really want people who are even struggling financially to get these keys and unlock the abundance that is your birthright, because nobody came here to be broke and starving.
That's well said.
I know you're ready.
Yes, I'm totally ready. I know everybody else is probably ready.
Yes.
But,
Thank you all. Some of you have been here the whole time. We deeply appreciate the energy of listening and your presence. It really means a lot to us. And it's so exciting that there are other people out here willing to do this very humble work of getting real. Who am I really? What's not working? Let me do the courageous work of changing that for the betterment of me and the people around me. And believe me, when you do this work for yourself, the effects are rippling out to the whole collective. This is another reason why we know we don't need 1 million people in our group. We impact one client, that's changing a whole universe. So really respect that in yourself. You are a whole universe. And even if you're not a manifestor, what you do, it really matters. You being in alignment, following the guidance of your higher self and honoring your unique design, it paves the way for everyone to do the same.
yes.
And that's how we enter into the 5th dimensional existence of ascension.
Yes, yes. So what is the email address? So the email address, Darwin, is activationcoaching@gmail.com. She's gonna type it in the
I'll also put it in the description.
yeah, and I want to appreciate Darwin for real, man, for being the masculine energy up in the building, holding it down. You know, I
Also
really
Elliot.
and Elliot. Oh, yeah, Elliot but see, I didn't see Elliot to the end. My bad.
That's true.
My
That's
bad,
true.
Elliot. My bad. So shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Darwin. Shout out to James was on there.
Oh
with
yeah,
us.
James might still be here. I don't know if Raven had to go. Yep, James was here.
Yeah, so shout out to the divine masculine, because it's not a lot of us out here really engaging in this work, because it was designated to the feminine stratosphere for a long time when you're talking about feelings, right? As a man growing up, we wasn't really talking about feelings all the time, right? So the human design, this is a feeling knowledge, and feelings is what attaches, is what connects us to our soul energy. So you have astral travel that you do with the third eye and the crown, and with this, but then when you go soul travel, right? Soul travel is travel through feeling, and soul travel will take you beyond the dimensions. The mental travel will just take you to the highest you can go in the mind, which is crazy high, crazy far. But how do we go beyond the mind? That is the feeling reality. And a lot of our masculine energy has been trapped in the mind in this masculine doing energy, when half of our masculine, a lot of our masculine energy, we're not even masculine all the way. We're not all manifestors.
Mhm.
So if you're a generator and you're a man, you are representing the feminine energy. So it's
In a lot of ways.
in a whole lot of ways. So it's important for you to understand the receptive quality of who you are, the magnetic quality of who you are, and use it, right? And use it by allowing. So this is why I end my prayer with I allow you, because allowing is the next level of our enlightenment as a species.
Well, it's also a quality and ability of the higher self, because the higher self isn't threatened by anything. So it doesn't have to manipulate, have agendas, suppress. So I just want to jump on that very quickly because I know it's time to go. But this is important.
We gotta go, y'all.
But this is important because when people hear feeling, the masculine thinks getting trapped and confused, because the emotional wave can confuse you. So when we talk about feeling, we are not talking about making emotional decisions.
Yes.
We are talking about honoring the emotional wave, moving through the feelings to get to clarity. And when we talk about the shamanic emotional work, we aren't talking about just venting and getting stuck in the emotions and having a catharsis without resolution, right? Because that can repel a masculine person for good reason. We're actually talking about having your cake and eating it too, learning how to express and process the emotions and then dissolve them and integrate them. So you're not on the one extreme suppressing it. Next thing you know, you got cancer inside of you because you're not dealing with it. Or on the other hand, being so extreme with your emotions, like rebelling and exploding out because they're not being heard. What we're talking about is a happy medium. Again, that allowing. The higher self can allow you to be angry, jealous, sad, confused, anxious, afraid, because the higher self isn't triggered by any of that. So we're teaching you in that shamanic webinar every month how to be in self, witness your own emotions so that they can go through the organic process, which is again, arising, expressing, dissolving, integrating. But we're not taught that. We're taught repression, which then either results in implosion or explosion. We are taught to be afraid of the emotional realm. We are taught to ignore it because it just will confuse things. What we're saying is you don't have to ignore it. You move through it, but you also learn when and how to make your decision so the distorted extreme parts of the wave aren't throwing you off. I want to make that clear. So masculine beings, we're not going to ask you to come in and be feminine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're not built for that.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
I had to say it.
No, you have to know. It's important. It's good for you to say it.
Okay.
But it's just important to know that, for
It's
the man, for us to tap into our feminine,
Mhm.
because we know we're masculine, right? We don't have to, but the part of us is knowing how to, the tricky part is knowing how to work that feminine. We know we have the feminine inside, but how do you work it? What is it? What is that about? So I feel like through the both of us, we definitely can help bring clarity to that.
And also shout out to Ben. I know he's not here, but that was another.
Yeah, Ben.
masculine.
Oh yeah,
was holding
Ben.
it down.
There we go. Ben was
We're
holding
six
it down.
threes.
Yeah.
Man.
We had the young crew up in here,
Yeah,
right?
which is
The
great.
teens and the
Which is great.
preteens.
So yeah, also younger people wanting to join Healing the Nine Center Being, that's fine. I would probably, if you're under 18, I would probably want to check in with your parents. So have your parent contact me too, because there is a significant time commitment. And again, this program is going to really change your life. This isn't a giant group coaching program that's going to expose you to stuff, but it's kind of at the surface just as an introduction. No, this is very advanced work that is going to have real repercussions that are going to be very positive, but just know when you get on this journey with us, it's going to change your life.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you all.
Email us activationcoaching@gmail.com if you have questions or comments. This will be on YouTube shortly. And again, we really deeply appreciate you being here because your questions, your responses, your feedback helps us to focus the discussion. Even though it was very long, it would be even more long if you weren't here because we'd just be talking about everything and anything. So thank you for your time and the energy of your attention. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you. We love you all, and I want you guys to have a great, great rest of the day.
Ta-ta. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Peace.